allegiance
allegiance
to the
to
flag
to the flag
flag
of the
of
United
the
States of
United
America
States of America
and to the
and to
republic
the republic
for which it
for
stands,
which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty
indivisible,
and justice for all.
for all.
Justice for all.
Okay. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Here.
Director Gibson,
here,
Director Kelling,
Here.
Director Nyman's here, Director Schoenberg.
here,
Okay, we have a quorum. Number 2, discussion vote, adjust agenda if necessary.
We could table number 13, the pipeline replacement.
Okay. Did we want to move the billboard lease agreement up further on the agenda? So, I mean, because, they, BJ can stay the whole meeting if he wants, but I was thinking maybe we should do him a little earlier.
That would be thoughtful.
So,
Kathleen Weinstein is also joining us from that.
okay.
I'd like to move that we table item 13 until next month's regular, or actually, well, no, because it's on the planning. So until the planning meeting, and that we move item 15, discussion vote on renewing the billboard lease agreement with Mountain Communities Chamber of Commerce, to after item 7.
After 7, yeah. Do I hear a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Garcia, second that. Roll call of directors, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson,
hi,
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried 500. Is there any other adjustments necessary that anyone sees? Okay, hearing none. On to number 3. Are there any public comments? Okay. Hearing none. For report of officers, President,
Negative.
Vice President doesn't have anything. Secretary,
I have nothing.
Treasurer,
Yes, I'll bring it up in the financials, but I do have one error that I took out 57. I don't have the exact number in front of me. The 57,000 for partial payment 1, I moved twice to operating revenue. I'll explain that more, but I need to move that back. One of them a mistake.
okay. And JPIA representative,
no, I have nothing.
okay. 5, are there any new board member initiatives?
None.
Okay, 6, the manager's report.
Okay, I was going to do that. Do you need somebody to send him the meeting information so he could join? Can somebody do that while I'm giving my report? Tiffany, maybe?
I don't have his contact information, and I left my board packet at the office.
Okay, just give me 1 second then,
Sorry.
and I'll just take a picture of it. And let me see. Okay, so anyway, so we had 243 work orders. We had 26 after our call outs, but most of those were communication issues, power failures, all kinds of stuff. We have gotten enough to where I've reached out to our SCADA guy and asking him. He's working remotely to try to find out why we're getting a lot, but a lot of it is directly related to Edison power issues still at this point. I also have still been trying to get Edison to revisit our claim on the cabinet at Pine One that was short circuited. They've denied our claim, and so I don't know where we go from here, but they just unequivocally said no, that we're notified of the power outage, and that's it. So I don't know. I'm trying to talk to some people in Edison to find out if there's an appeal process I can go through. Also, we got a letter from the IRS yesterday, I believe. Linda Wilkie could explain more, but everybody was so fed up with not getting the 1099s from Linda Sheldon after she promised them repeatedly that one of the board members called the IRS. And so the IRS sent us a letter today saying that we did not comply with the law, and we had to fill out some form and send it back in and explain ourselves, I believe. So Linda Wilkie is going to take care of that for us. And when she comes on, maybe she could explain when she's going to do it or what the situation is. But we got to make sure that our bookkeepers get the 1099s out on time, whether, I don't know, they're the only ones that could do it. So we've pushed and pushed and pushed. And then finally now we got the letter from the IRS. So other than that, unless we have some questions, that's it for my report.
So what, Linda, what are we planning on telling the IRS on this?
Can we address that in financials?
I guess we can. Okay.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
All right. Administrative assistance report.
Actually, I have one question before we move on.
Okay.
So Johnny, all of these like booster one failure at various tanks, you're saying those are all due to, I mean, some of them say SCADA, but it's all, all these communication failure. I mean, it's just like failure. You're saying most of this is due to power issues?
Well, I mean, I believe that's usually when it starts. When it starts, it kind of seems to, when it's jumping all over town and it's just not one or two, it tends to lead towards the power issues that we've always got. But it also, plus when we go to, say, well 5, it says well 5 well failure. We reset it, it won't come back on. We wait a couple hours, we come back and we do it again, and then it works. So to me, that's telling me that it's a power issue at the well sites. But our telemetry guy, Ness, ought to be able to narrow that down and tell me exactly what he believes it is. And if we have to have him come in and figure it out. One thing he wanted to do before he got derailed due to COVID was to bring out this new piece of equipment to find out, because some of the communication issues are because of our antennas and stuff not being high enough, or certain, different things like maybe the AT&T tower in the park now affecting our radio signals. But he has to come out and have time to map out all of the frequencies that are flying around that may be affecting our stuff. He wants me to put a antenna tower in the district yard, but then he got called aside for his main job because of he does something with medical, and because of all the attacks on people's computer systems during COVID, he had to move up north. So he can still come, but he hasn't had it readily available. So I'm trying to get him to change that and to go ahead and come in and tell us what we need to do to limit that.
Okay, so none of these are actual damage. They're just failures to like either start the booster or.
Yeah. The only thing that was an actual failure is we didn't get the high float alarm at Wolf when Wolf overflowed. And so Wolf overflowed and washed out Elm Trail, and I had to go fix it the next day. I fixed it on a Saturday and to make that right again. But other than that, we haven't had it, no burned out boosters or nothing. It's just
Okay.
they simply won't run.
Okay.
Oh, and I do have one more thing. If we could back up to stay with my manager's report. I've been trying to get this grant for backup battery power like you guys have wanted. So I've been working on it for a couple of months. I hadn't said anything because I wanted to see where we were going with it. Supposedly, at 3 or 4 of our sites, they've determined that they could put battery backups. It's supposed to be through an SCE program. That's supposed to cost us no money, save us, thousands of dollars in a year. So they were supposed to get it to me today, but they didn't. They're supposed to get me a presentation that I could forward to a couple of board members, along with the paperwork that will need to be signed that I could forward. And so Brahma said that he would look at it. So if somebody else wants to volunteer when I get it, I could forward that to them. So then when I have them on the agenda by the next meeting or the next well, it should be the next meeting we have in 2 weeks. Maybe we could, be prepared to move forward with it.
Yeah, let me know.
Okay. I'll do it. All right. And that's it for my report.
Thanks,
Okay.
Tony.
You're welcome.
Administrative assistance report.
Okay, yesterday I finally received the new forms from Kern County, so I can file the COVID reimbursement for anything in 2021 that we spend. I put together what we've done so far, so there's about $1,500 that I'll be submitting. I just need a signature from Director Garcia, so at some point next week, that'll be fine. There's no rush on that.
Oh, can I add to that real
Absolutely.
quick, Tiffany? What I
Yeah.
did was when Tiffany told me that came in, I went ahead and ordered another air purifier for the office and some Clorox or Lysol wipes, one of the two. Because if we're going to get reimbursed for it, we might as well get it and help out with the budget. So she's already included that on the form as well.
Good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, on to number 7, ad hoc committee reports, local information committee, that hasn't met.
Not happening.
Projects committee,
So we met, but we reported on that last meeting, right? So have we done anything since then? Yes, we have. We met with Bravish.
Ravish.
Yeah, so we met with Bravish, who's from Stanley Hoffman and Associates, and to ask some questions about the the consolidation, the Lake of the Woods project consolidation, and that so we spelled out kind of some of our issues, told them that we would not need 2 municipal service reviews, and so hopefully our price comes down for that. I think he has all the information he needs. He sent me some information. I haven't had time to go through all of it, but as far as I know, he's going to get together with Dee, and then Director Nyman and or myself also can be informed of that and if there are any issues. So we did explain what our needs were and what the changes were. I'm a little bit confused, which Dee can address that further on the agenda, but I was confused that some properties that I was told were on the map are not on the map. So, but we'll address that when we get there.
Okay. Rate study committee, I think we're kind of at a standstill. I don't think we've done anything more on that.
Yeah,
Have we?
we're at a standstill right now. I haven't added any of the book asset detail items, and I believe we haven't heard back from David.
Yes, David from RCAC. Yeah. And then, of course, the budget committee, that hasn't been, there's nothing been going on with that as far as I know.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to financial business. Before financial business, sorry, we're going to as 7.1, discussion vote on renewing the billboard lease agreement with Mountain Communities Chamber of Commerce. And okay, so we have the lease agreement here. This is renewing it for another year. Is that what it is? Don't everybody answer me at once.
Yeah, we're renewing it for a year.
I believe last time we met, we were discussing the same plan as we did the first time, which was the first year, and then the renewal of 4 years after that, thus being 5 years. Am I correct?
Yeah, I believe that is correct. And go ahead.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Director Schoenberg.
Go ahead and finish your thought, John.
Yeah,
and then I'll-
I went by and I looked at the signs again before we even discussed the agreement again, and I noticed that some of the signs are still peeling and not looking good. And you guys were gonna fix those, I believe, last year. And then like the water company one is peeling pretty good, and some of the other ones are peeling pretty good. I was just wondering if you intended on fixing them.
Yeah, we had talked about that.
Okay, so-
specifically. That was what I was going to bring up. We had talked about that specifically before any kind of longer renewal.
And there's still streetlights like right on the corner of Monterey and Mount Pinos that at least the last time I talked to somebody, it was still out. So the streetlights and the signs are supposed to be why you're advertising and getting the money. So
So let me address the billboard just to reiterate. When we had this conversation last year, the signs were already submitted, and it was not to our knowledge that your logo, company logo, utility logo, or what was the other flower design needed to be replaced. And like I mentioned, when we get up there next time to do it, because that alone costs $1,000 to have their truck cherry picker come up and do that.
well, I understand it,
And it'd be
but
more effectively efficient.
well, actually, you guys have hung a second sign, a new sign since then. I forget which one it was, but it's been a whole year. So, I mean, that's a long time. I understand not doing it this month or next month, but if you within a year, certainly it should have been done, and it should also be done when you hang another sign.
And we do that annually. So
Okay.
we wouldn't have done it during the year. And the renewals for the signs come up in April. And as of right now, there are no changes to do it. If I tell you, I give you my word, the next time we actually have them come out to do it, we will replace yours. I just don't think it's efficient money-wise to spend money just to fix one
Now, like I said, it could
sign
be.
as opposed to putting up several changes that are.
Yeah, I understand, but didn't I see a new sign hung there sometime in the last year? I forget what it is. I think there's a new advertiser on there.
Again, when we have renewals or changes or dropouts, we schedule it for a one-time visit. There
Right,
wouldn't
so
have been
so
any
I think,
second.
I
If you
think the
saw
point is,
anything,
BJ, I understand that, and I think
Mhm.
we're in agreement with efficiency and having your costs down. The important thing is that if you're doing it once a year, then that means once a year you got to at least look at the whole billboard and figure out what signs are peeling and replace them all at one time. So
Yeah,
you know,
am I- yeah,
that's all we're saying is to make, because you may have other signs up there that are peeling and you got to make sure that you replace those because you're supposed to maintain those.
Yeah, but I would also think rather than waiting a whole year, if somebody new advertises and you have to get the boom truck out here to do the advertisement, at that time you would also touch up whatever you needed to, whether it's the stain or replace the different signs or whatever it is, because you're not paying extra to get the boom truck up here because you've already done that to hang the new sign. I would think anytime you hang a new sign, you would utilize
correct.
the use of the boom truck. So
that's
But yeah.
correct, and that's what I was trying to explain. If I came off wrong, sorry, but that's what it's meant to do. We try to do it in one fell swoop, so everybody gets taken care of. The new signs that are going up are different material. I believe it's some type of metal as opposed to what was used before, which will actually last longer. Thank you to the sign company for doing that for us. But next time we do have a change out, Absolutely. And now that I'm more aware of the sensitivity of those deteriorating, I will physically check them myself before we come out and order new signs to go up. I
All
give
right,
you
and
my
then-
word. on
And
that.
then with the lighting, I called myself when all this started over a year ago about the light by the corner of Monterey and Mount Pinos, and I was told that you waited till you had 2 or 3 of them out to replace it, which I had fully understood. But I would imagine that by now there's enough of them out to merit putting light bulbs in there.
And do you have a specific contact you're using, or is that strictly upon us?
As contact, no, that's strictly on you guys. You guys are supposed to take care of the signs, the flower beds, and the lighting for the downtown project, like I explained last time we had this conversation. So all of the downtown landscape that they did, the lighting and everything is up on the Chamber of Commerce. Now, when I called, I was told that you guys knew that you guys would do that, but you would wait till you had 2 or 3 out to replace it. But it still hasn't been replaced the last time I checked, and it's, maybe you have in the last month, but
I will take care of it. If there's any fault, I accept the blame for that. I will make sure it gets handled.
all right. Thank you, BJ.
You're welcome. I appreciate that. Also, too, I know it's hard to get together physically, but last time I requested, it even can be used on a Google map to just circle the areas and planters we're directly responsible for.
Yeah, well, I mean, really, yeah, I can do that. But if you just drive through town on Monterey and Mount Pinos, wherever there is a curb, a sidewalk, and a planter, that's the downtown project. So it starts to the west at the market right in front of Caveman Cavies, and it goes east to Ace Hardware. And then on the other side of the street, there's sidewalk, but I don't think there's any planters. So you got Monterey from Don's Liquor to the corner by the pharmacy, and you got from Caveman Cavies down to Ace Hardware. But any of the planters that are raised and built into the sidewalks for plants is what you guys take care of. I think the county,
and the lights.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, and the lights, yeah. And I think
Yeah,
that's,
we
I think
talked-
that's,
we talked about
I
the
think that's
lights.
the span of where they're at. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And then is that water usage metered? How are we billed specifically for usage?
I don't know if the county took that over. That's gone back and forth between you guys and the county. You guys used to be responsible for the sprinklers too, and then the county started taking care of that. So I don't know who's doing that right now without me checking the computer, but I believe the bill is going to the county right now. But the plants and the upkeep of the plants and all that stuff, at least originally, was upon the Chamber of Commerce to take care of.
Well, I'm pretty sure we get billed water from you
Okay.
guys because it's in our financials.
Okay.
I just need to know how that water is metered, or how the
Yeah,
amount is
they-
derived, so I
right,
have more
yeah,
detailed information.
Yeah. There's a base rate you pay to have the meter, which is set right in front of Caveman Cavies, and then you pay for whatever usage of water happens. So you pay like $2.63, I believe it is, per 100 cubic feet, plus the base rate. And I don't recall what size meters in there, but anytime you get your bill and you want to call me, I'll look it up on the computer and I'll let you know.
All right.
You pay the-
I'll
you
request
you
that
pay-
from our treasurer.
Yeah, you pay the same as anybody else with the same size meter in town.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you.
the proceeds from that, the people who are renting those billboards, primarily, I mean, there's some that's meant to be used for other things, but primarily those proceeds are supposed to be used towards the reasonable and ordinary expenses and towards the expenses and upkeep of the Fraser Park streetscapes. So they should be going for water, they should be going for the upkeep and administrative costs,
And lights,
like,
And lights.
and the lights.
Yeah.
and the plant,
Right.
and the planters, et cetera. So it's maintaining the streetscape, and that was the whole reason that they, when we had the agreement with the county, is they were concerned about that, the upkeep, and that's how it sort of came down as far as things being kept up.
Okay.
So what are we deciding on tonight on this agreement? Are we going to offer a new agreement and for how long?
I would recommend maybe we sign it for another year and then see if all of these things are kept taken care of by the time we have the next renewal in a year. And then that way, we'll know better, because all of this stuff was addressed last year and we're still battling it. So maybe instead of having the auto renewal, we should do 1 year and then revisit it next year.
I agree.
Again, I take the responsibility for that. And I can tell you this, I don't know if I can promise you in a year that your sign will be replaced, because everyone is struggling to make their billboard payments, and we've offered them to make partial payments along the way. So keep that in mind, please, that the people are just struggling to make their billboard payments.
Well, yeah, but see,
and we're doing what we can to help them.
we understand, but for the last year, you've spent almost zero money on the sign project. So all the money that has been paid has been just kept by the chamber. And it,
So,
whatever you,
I'm sorry, Johnny, that's not correct. That's not correct. If you look at the billboards, we put up a solar lighting system.
yeah, that was
So
a year
the
ago. Yeah.
boards are illuminated.
Yeah, that was a year ago.
Yeah, that was
I know.
Well, I don't know what's in a year ago, but it's the most recent amount. We spent $3,500 on that.
I get it.
To illuminate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Johnny, I had a phone call with you. I was telling you about theft that was happening there. Actually, this was about 6 months ago. All this was going down to try to see if we can help fortify the area. I also contacted the sheriff's department, which, by the way, they did call me back and said they caught somebody with a whole bunch of wiring and equipment in their backyard. But to say we didn't spend the money on it is not accurate. So just for your record, just know that we spent money on the lighting system for that.
Yeah, and I understand. Since we're still a year later, explaining what the responsibilities of the chamber are, the same stuff that I went over with you in person and at a meeting a year ago, I feel like maybe we need to just establish for sure that, yeah, this is what it's for. So if we do a renewal for a year, in a year we can revisit it, and if it's working out, then we'll renew it, like the original one. That's my suggestion to the board. It's their decision.
I think that's smart. Again, I was just prefacing the fact that if no one requests any new signs for signage, you want me to spend $1,000 to have them come out just to replace your sign?
No, what I'm saying is, I've said it twice. I apologize, BJ, for being frustrated, but you had other signs hung in that last year. During that time, when you had other signs hung, that's when I would have thought that you would have done that instead of waiting until April, because that's when you do it. If you've already got the boom truck on the same billboard at the same time, that's when you could have upgraded the signs that were peeling. That's all I'm saying. I would never say bring a boom truck just because our logo is peeling, but you had a guy 5 feet away from the sign. That's when I would have planned for revitalizing that billboard.
Yeah. Again, we scheduled it when we scheduled it, and they came out by the time that we found out your signs needed replacement. Then, like I said, the next time they come out, it'll be replaced. And it's a one-time thing.
Right.
Each year they come out to do it.
All righty.
So it's, yeah, I don't know what to tell you after that. It's not, we decide not to do it. This was scheduled before my knowledge of it being needed to be replaced.
And then
Again,
with
if there's
the
any confusion, I take this.
And then with the lighting, why has the lighting not been addressed in a year?
You can blame that on me. That's my shortcoming.
Okay. All right. So the board now can decide, what they want to do.
Does any directors have any comments?
I think we should just go for a year.
Director Schoenberg?
You want to make that a motion, Director Gibson?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we have, that we renew the billboard lease agreement with the Mountain Communities Chamber of Commerce for 1 year, and we will look at it again at that time and see if things have been taken care of as directed in the contract.
Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Director Kelling has seconded that. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried 500. So we'll renew the contract as is for another year, and then we can revisit it again. And hopefully, you know, we just need, can you get with Johnny, and so you guys can get a clear understanding as to what's required and what's not required, BJ? That would be helpful.
Yeah, I'm available Monday through
I'm-
Thursdays.
I will take care of the lights. I will look at the watering. And I will address the signage on the billboard for you guys. And when do you need me to come and sign in to your office so I can sign it for you?
Well, yeah, we'll call you when, I guess we'll make the changes to it. So when Tiffany gets the change about the auto renewal for 4 years, when she'll just puts the 1 year in, then we'll call you and then I'll meet up with you somewhere. We'll have you sign it.
Okay,
Thank you, BJ.
very good.
All right, thank you, BJ.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
All right, I hope you have a good night. Okay, moving on to financial business. This discussion vote on audited financial statements for fiscal year June 30th, 2020, and other financial questions. I think that's you, Scott, or Dahira.
Yes, yes. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Both Scott and I are in our offices. We figured that'd be easier to do it separately so we wouldn't have to wear our masks and I could do the presentation. So Scott, jump in any point in time if any comments are necessary. So my name is Danira Mian, and we have Scott Westall, who is the audit manager on the job, and I'm the audit partner. From Barbich Hooper King, Dill Hoffman. We appreciate your business and we appreciate being your independent CPAs. And I forget how many years now we've been your CPAs, but we appreciate your service or your business as usual. Tonight we have 2 deliverables from the audit. We have the governance letter, which is a required communication to the board, and I'll go through that after the financial statements. And the second deliverable is the audited financial statements, which are in draft format tonight. So I'll go through briefly the discussion of the financial statements. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of what our audit process is that we go through the control environment of Fraser Park, which is enlisting Johnny and Tiffany. And at some point in time, it was Linda, the previous bookkeeper as well. And what we do is we look at the control environment in place to determine what our risk assessments are as far as what the risk areas are and how we're going to approach the audit. And part of that control environment and what we look at is the board involvement and the board culture. And obviously we've been to, myself and Scott, to a few of the board meetings throughout these last few years before Patrick rotated off. And so we know that the board is very involved, and that is part of our control environment assessment. You know, had the board not been involved, aware, you know, they don't meet, then that would basically increase our risks in certain areas. But knowing that the board is involved, that is part of our control environment assessment and our risk assessment as well. And obviously looking at the district, our key areas are obviously our cash receipts, which is our billings, and our cash disbursements, which all of our expenses at this point in time. So if we want to start looking at the financials, I believe you received a copy. Via
Before
email.
we start that, could I make one question or one comment?
Sure.
Isn't usually the title of these, because it's a yearly thing, isn't it for fiscal year June 2019 to, I mean, July 2019 to June 30th, 2020? I mean, normally our titles have been for audited for that year.
Right, right. You mean like the front page of the financial statements?
Yeah, because I mean, you've put throughout here, always you're saying financial say June 30, 2020 and 2019.
Right.
I don't know if it really makes a big difference, but usually each year our audit always said for our fiscal year, like fiscal year July 1st, 2019 and to June 30th, 2020.
I don't think it did. I think it's been the same.
Right.
Really?
Right. This is our normal format.
Oh, okay. Okay, then I stand corrected.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, they always just have the ending date first, and then
Okay,
it's the previous year. So it's
Okay.
basically, it doesn't ever say from July. That's said
I must be
elsewhere.
having a senior moment.
That's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So if we look at page 1 and 2 of the audited financial statements, it's the independent auditor's report, which this basically is the only part of the whole financial, believe it or not, that is ours, and it is a clean report. So that's a good thing. And we'll date the date of the auditor's report, which is on page 2, once we get approval and whatnot. So this is what you want to see in the audit, is a clean report, and that's what the district has received. If we move on to page 3 through.
I have one question on that, because even though we have a clean report, I know, way back when we used to get sometimes, even though, everything looked good, we would get suggestions on
Or
other
recommendations.
recommendation. Isn't that usually in this first part of the letter too?
No, usually that's a separate letter. If we have any, basically any deficiencies, material weaknesses, or even just control suggestions as to, hey, I think, we could do this way, which we have in the past.
Right.
You can chime in, but I believe we've had a few regarding the billing system. We've had a few over the past few years, but it's not part of the audited report.
Okay, yeah, I know we've had some with the bad debt and different, putting things in the
Right.
wrong place, even though everything checked out. So, okay, I'm like Director Nyman. I somehow was thinking that was sometimes included in the first couple pages.
No,
Okay.
it's only for different reasons. If you have a single audit and whatnot, unfortunately, you guys do not have that, so it would not be included in this audited financial. If we move on to the next page, the MD&A, which is management's discussion and analysis, starts. And all this has is the summarized schedules of the financial statements. And normally, Scott sends this to Johnny to update, but being that last week, or actually Monday, we decided, and we were given the okay to present today, that under the time crunch, we didn't have time to send this off to Johnny to update. So we just did a generic update of the changes from last year to this year. But that will be part of your review, or part of the changes that you possibly will give back to us before we go final. So if you look at the MD&A, which starts on page 3, some of the paragraphs are just templates of what the management discussion and analysis is, and what basically the financial statements are, some definitions. And then it has the tables of the numbers of the financial statements, like in summarized tables. And right underneath that is management's discussion of the changes. So like I said, that's the one that Scott and myself just inserted for now. but that's something that Johnny usually updates. So Johnny, when you get a chance to give us any changes that you might want to have, or the board, then we'll go ahead and make those changes. But it basically just describes, like I mentioned, some of the changes that occurred from last year to this year when it comes to the assets, which is on page 4, assets and liabilities. Page 5 has our table of revenue and expenses. So the paragraph underneath also has a brief summary of the highlights of the changes. And then page 6 has our budget to actual. Again, right underneath that would be a brief explanation of whatever management would like to disclose. Page 7 is your capital assets, the changes in the different categories. And then right below that on page 7 is the debt service requirement paragraph. And then page 8 just identifies who a public user of these financials would contact at the district as far as just the address. So that piece, Johnny, if you wouldn't mind giving us changes in the next maybe week or so, that'd be great. Like I said, we usually give it to you with enough time, but being that Scott was going to jump into this meeting, we figured we were pretty much ready to present the draft. So go ahead.
I'm at home. I'm at home right now. Can you send me the email with the requested changes, and I'll take care of it on Monday morning?
Sure.
Sure.
Scott, if you don't mind.
Right now.
Thank you, Scott.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So now,
So I just wanted to, so the main things that you put in here is that are net. So what is the net position increase? 33,487.
Right.
That's that's to
basically
the
your net income, like what?
our net income.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And then when it says additional net operating and non-operating revenues increased $48,000. So that's a very positive thing. So
Right.
the only thing that we're looking at is we had a huge increase in our direct total expenses.
Right.
But
Right,
I do know that we've done a lot of work this year.
Right.
So,
Right.
And Director Nyman, some of this is left over from our original increase that happened in 2019, but we did not do a 2020 increase, nor did we do a 2021 increase. So I expect that amount to go down.
right. Well, I was just talking about the expenses because the expenses.
Yeah, there's also some more inventory that's in stock. It was before we weren't able to get that all entirely nailed down for Scott. So some of that stuff may change some, but by the next audit, it's going to be great. But it's all, it's still a good audit.
Yeah, no, I wasn't saying, I just kind of wanted to go over it a little bit because, that's what we're here for tonight.
Right. Right.
Of
And
course.
I'll go through in a little bit more detail here on page 9. This is just
Okay.
a summary. So, so if we look at page 9,
Sure.
we basically have our assets and our liabilities and our net position for the district. If we go down just the list of the assets, we've got our cash, we've got our accounts receivables, which is a cutoff of year end, which wasn't a huge swing from last year to this year. We did have a few journal entries related to grants receivable, which is the California State Water Resources Control Board receivable. So that went up by about $6,000 from last year. And what Johnny alluded to, the inventory, materials and supplies, you'll notice that we had a huge swing from last year to this year. And part of that process was a physical inventory, Johnny, that you and your staff performed. And part of it is obviously writing off obsolete inventory or obsolete inventory that's not on site.
Yes.
So this 25,000 is a best estimate by Johnny as to what we have currently on the district with value for inventory. So that's part of the swing.
So maybe we need to implement something like an inventory, a physical inventory every 6 months or something.
Yeah. And actually the way that came about was the prior billing clerk was supposed to be inputting all invoices into the inventory. And since that time, since it didn't happen, me and Tiffany, well, Tiffany actually found out, but we're allowed to put RVS on our individual computers, me and Tiffany. So I'm going to redo the inventory myself on my computer. So when the invoices come in, I will input them in there with correct pricing, and then I could spot check and do inventories to make sure that that's kept up throughout the year. So
Right,
by the
because
end-
we have to know how much we've used and what, what
Well,
we still have in
yeah.
inventory. I mean, that's an important factor.
Well, in most of it, we did have an actual count of, but the issue is we didn't have pricing, because the pricing, if that's not input, we have a count of how many clamps, but we don't know if it's the pricing from 5 years ago or if it's pricing from now, because you have to input the current invoice pricing. So that's what I'm going to start doing. So it wasn't so much that we don't know what our inventory is, it's what we didn't know what the pricing is. And I can't ask
Because
Ferguson.
we spend a ton of money on clamps.
I can't ask Ferguson to sit and devote 2 days worth of their time researching pricing to get current prices. So it's going to be a year or two of inputting new current pricing, and regular things we buy will have current pricing for that stuff. So that's why there was the estimate, not that we don't know what's in stock, because we
Right.
do.
Okay.
Right, so there was an inventory, but it was more of an estimate of the cost, as Johnny mentioned. So we decided for this year, we would go ahead and based on Johnny's estimate, make the journal entry to write that down. And obviously it's a conservative number. We don't want to inflate it and show a higher cost if there really is no value there. So that was probably the biggest change. Going down the line, we have our restricted cash and cash equivalents, which are basically our cash accounts that are related to the bonds, our capital assets. Obviously, we have the decline or the decrease in the balance due to the depreciation for the year. If we go down a little bit further to our liabilities, we have our current maturities for our long-term debt. We have an increase in accounts payables and accrued expenses, which some of it had to do with the grant expenses as well that we've accumulated that hadn't been paid, because usually I believe they're submitted to be reimbursed. So that had to do something with that increase for this year from last year, and then some fencing work that was also accrued as of year end. Our long-term debt decreased based on just the principal payments. And then if you look down further to the net position, which is essentially the equity of the district, so to speak, we have our net investments in capital assets, which are basically our capital assets netted against the debt. The restricted balance should agree to our restricted cash and cash equivalents up above. And then everything else is unrestricted, so to speak, for the use of the district.
And we've been talking, we talked to Scott some, there's still some issues with removing some items that are, I mean, most of them are zeroed out, but there are, so anything that would be under capital assets currently would be an item that is not zeroed that you've been depreciating, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so any of the zeroed items, as we end up removing them from that book asset detail, won't affect that whatsoever.
No, you're correct.
Okay.
Any questions on the statement of deposition? Okay, so if we go to page 10, statements of revenue, expenses, and changes in that position, as was mentioned earlier by Lisa, for the water rates, we did have an increase from last year to this year because I believe they were raised effective 1/1 of 2019, so only half the year of your 19 year included those increases, and so 2020 includes the full year. But then you guys didn't increase the rates again. So there was that slight change in the revenue. Otherwise, most of your other revenue streams were pretty consistent with the prior year. And as we mentioned for our operating expenses, we did have an increase in our operating expenses. More specifically, if you notice for pumping power maintenance, which I believe all of the
About $100,000.
right, all of the repairs for well 5 were included in that line item.
Okay,
Um,
that was $97,000
Right.
to fix the well.
Right,
Yeah.
and I believe Scott and I had the discussion as well, because we do look at not only test accounts, but look at the changes and whatnot. And I know because of some of the water rate increase in January, obviously you have a little bit more cushion to spend the money for the repairs and maintenance needed throughout the district. So we did discuss whether, what that change was. And obviously we noted in the board minutes that well 5 kept on coming up throughout the year. And then your depreciation expense, which is non-cash, obviously it's about 340,000, similar to last year. If we go down a little bit further to our non-operating items, we had, as I mentioned, the grant revenue. We recorded a few journal entries related to some of the expenses that occurred during the year under audit that needed to be accrued. So we have grant revenue of about 17,000 for this year. And then our interest expense, which is associated with our bond, our assessments that come from the county, and then some miscellaneous income. So our change in net assets or net position from last year to this year was a net positive 33,000. And as Brahma, as you had mentioned earlier, it was a decrease from what we had last year. But again, we had quite a few expenses that the district was able to spend on the repairs and maintenance side for the district. So regardless, we did have a net positive for the year of close to 34,000.
Which is better than being in the black
Right.
in the red like we've been for years and years.
Right. Any questions on the statements of revenue and expenses? Okay, so I won't discuss much on the next few pages. 11 and 12 is the statements of cash flows, which are the ins and outs of the actual cash. The balance sheet or the statement of net position is on an accrual basis, but the actual ins and outs of the cash are on these 2 pages, and equal to our cash and cash equivalents balances for both the restricted and the regular cash accounts. So I wasn't going to go through the cash flow and bore you guys with that, unless there's any questions.
No.
If we move on to page 13, that is where the notes to the financial statements begin. We did not have any new notes for this year. Usually if we have new notes, it's either because of a new material account that we have to disclose, or any new standards that we have to adopt, and we didn't have any as of June 30th of 2020. So note 1 just goes through just the significant accounting policies of the district. So that's page 13 through page 16 of just our basic accounting policies as to how we recognize revenue, how we record capital assets, etc. On page 16.
I do have a quick question. So we had made some changes in regard to our both our capital reserve and also our naming changes and kind of changes as to what we were doing with that money in a couple of our restricted accounts.
Okay.
So I'm just curious if that created any issues or.
I don't think so, Scott, right? We didn't.
No, we typically, like from our side, not that I'm aware of. If there's something in the financial statements in terms of you've just changed how some of the funds are referred to in the notes that Denier is going to get to in a little bit, just let us know and we can change the titles.
Okay.
From an auditing standpoint, it wasn't a problem.
Right. Okay. On page 16, note 2 starts, which just discloses what we have as far as cash is concerned. And then a few of the policies on page 17, which we're just required to disclose for any government entity. Page 18 is where note 3 starts, which, as Scott mentioned, this is where we have the restricted cash accounts, which relate to the bonds. So Lisa, if any of these,
So the actual bonds, bonds themselves, those names, nothing changed. It's still the reserve and the replacement. I did have a question about the project fund, which I know has been on there for a while, but I thought that the project fund was for, it says to reserve any unused proceeds from the bond issuance for the expansion or improvement of the district's water system. I thought that we were using the project fund to pay for the, and I could just be crazy right now because I'm pretty tired, but I thought that that was actually a zero out fund that was for when we had the USDA project itself to actually pay from. So I'm a little confused about that.
Yeah, I believe that's what it's referring to, is like the original payments from.
Okay, so it's just saying if we had extra that
right.
we did not pay out to them that was left in that, which it isn't, that was left in there, then that would be, okay, that makes sense.
You got it.
And I think we normally don't, like the project fund, if you notice at the table right above it, it's 0 and 0 for both years.
Right.
We normally don't include, when there's a 0 balance, we usually delete, but I think a few years ago, we just decided because the fund still exists, whether it's 0 or not, just to leave it on there. So that would be up to you to decide as a board if you wanted to maintain it there as 0 and 0, but that's what it's been like for the last few years, right, Scott?
I don't think it's that big a deal, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we can leave it there or we can take it off as well.
I would just leave it there, that's fine.
Okay. If we move on to page 19 and 20, that's our capital assets, just shows in what categories we've made purchases, if there were any retirements or sales and whatnot. And then obviously our depreciation in each area.
So there are some changes in the way that we wanted to talk about some of these as far as like pumping plants. It didn't change in, the amounts have not changed. They're going to change I mean, it'll be fine on this report, but I just want to bring that up because going into next year, I know, or even I guess it may be the year after that, I know that we wanted to make some changes in how we describe all of that.
Right, and I believe that's that was the first intention of why Scott was in this meeting, right, Scott? To kind of discuss a little bit of that. So no, we're aware, and these are your financials, but like you said, the numbers aren't changing. It's just categories and maybe what the detail looks like. So it may roll into June 30th of 2021 or 2022, but that is fine. That's not going to affect the financials, just the categories of how we show them. So
okay,
that should be fine. Page 21 is page 21 and 22 is just the detail of the bonds and what the current maturities are. And then on page 22, basically the principal and interest for the rest of the life of the bond for the first 5 years, the next 5 years, and then groups of 5 years at a time. If we go on to page 23, we have the disclosure for the grant revenue as to the fact how much was basically granted, how much we've actually received and expended and whatnot. And I guess the only question or food for thought, maybe as you guys review this a little bit more closely and give us back any feedback or any changes that you want before we go final, is whether we, in this particular note, you wanted to add a cumulative amount. Since inception of the grant, we have received, X dollars. So that's up to you. That was just more of a suggestion, not a requirement.
So you recognize, I was reading on the grant revenue, it said it's recognized revenues. You could, we consider that revenues?
Yes, yes, they would be considered grant revenue. So if you go back to page 10 of the
Mhm.
financials, under
Okay.
halfway through, under non-operating revenues, we have grant
Right.
revenue of 16,000.
Okay.
Right, but they end up, Director Nyman, they end up zeroing out. So when we bring in grant money, it comes in as a revenue. But as we spend grant money to pay for the various things, it goes out as an expense and it ends up zeroing if it's correct.
Okay.
And right, at the grand, in the grand scheme of things, yes, they're just in different categories.
Right. Okay. No problem. I read it earlier and I was just wondering.
No, that's,
Sometimes I have stupid questions, but.
Well, no,
no,
that's
not at all. No, not at all.
been a question on the budget too, because on the budget, it reflects as a revenue and then later on it reflects as a debit. So,
I'm sorry. For
oh,
the,
I was just telling Director Nyman,
oh, okay.
you look at our budget, our 5-year budget, it's the same thing.
Right. Okay.
It's reflected in both categories as a revenue and then as a debt.
Okay. You can go on down here.
On that same page, we have note 7, which just discloses the retirement plan, and then note 8 is just our self-insurance policy, which moves on to page 24. As you notice, there's a highlighted piece when the insurance company confirmed or returned the confirmation. They didn't include the companies that provide the excess insurance, which is not a big deal. We just need to get a hold of them to get the detail of the companies, as that's part of the disclosure. So Scott will try to track them down and get that updated. But all it is just the companies that provide the excess insurance for the district. So that should have no effect on your financials. If we move on, we have supplemental information, page 25. There were no changes, it's just a short synopsis of the history and organization of the district. Page 26 is the schedule of rates, which, as we note at the top, they are effective as of January 1st of 2019 because there were no changes.
Right.
And then page 27 is just a little bit more detail of the,
There is one change. We no longer bill $100 for reconnection.
Oh,
Is that correct, Director Schoenberg?
Yeah, but that's going to be on the next year because that didn't come into play until
Until 2020.
April
Yeah.
2020, just before the end of the year. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So it'll be next fiscal year, I guess. Okay.
Well, was it April 2020?
we
I
can,
believe so. I believe that's when the new policy. Do you remember, Tiffany? I believe the new policies came into effect in April, wasn't it?
Yeah, so there were a few changes, and there were also changes due to COVID. So some of this we may need to adjust.
okay, great.
Let us know. We're happy to.
I believe, I think Scott, you took the information off of the website, right? And it said effective April 1st, 2020. So I
Yeah.
think we pulled it directly off of that. So maybe that wasn't as updated.
Okay, we'll have to, Tiffany, we'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah.
And see what we have on our website, because we may have to change some of that because there are some new requirements. Because there's some law changed as far as what we're able to charge.
Oh, okay.
Right, and it says the schedule of annual rates effective January 1st, 2019 by resolution, but then scheduled rates June 30th, 2020. So I believe that they are not the same. We did a separate resolution. Am I wrong, Tiffany? I believe we had to do another resolution and there were some changes. So I think that effective January 1st, 2019 may not be correct.
Okay. If you guys just provide us with the most updated, you can just mark up your copy and send that to us, then we'll make those changes.
So Tiffany, can you make a note to look into that? And
Yes, I will.
thank you.
Thank you, resent it. Well, actually, Brahma brought it.
It's okay.
Uh,
I don't care.
Last page, schedule of G of general and administrative expenses just gives us a breakdown of the general and administrative expenses that we have, which agrees to that income statement as well. Any questions on the notes or these supplementary schedules? Okay, perfect. So I'll briefly go through the governance letter, which was also emailed, and that's required communication to the board. We just basically outlined whether there was any accounting policies that the district adopted, which I mentioned we did not. We disclosed which of the notes in the financial statements are sensitive to estimates, which we disclosed the inventory is sensitive to estimate. And then we also disclosed some of the more significant financial disclosures, which we've noted are the cash and investment disclosures, because it outlines what the practices of the district are. And then also note 6, which is the grant revenue disclosure. At this point, it's not material, but it may be in the future because we have been granted $1 million, so to speak. Part of that letter also discloses whether we had any difficulties with the district management or disagreements, or whether the district went out to opinion shop or that we had any issues, and we didn't. So that's just required communication. Once we go final, we'll sign the letter and give that as well. It'll have also the journal entries that we posted during the audit, which a lot of them have to do with just the grant and accruing some of those figures.
For year end.
Right, for the year end, right.
Yeah, okay.
So at this point in time, we don't have anything else. We will send the representation letter to Johnny once we get approval, or the changes that we've discussed for the financial statements. Scott also sent out the legal confirmation to Alan at Young Woolridge, I believe on Monday. So hopefully we'll be hearing from him here in the next week or so. So I think that's all for us. If you, as the board and Johnny, get back to us with changes, then at that point in time, we can go ahead and issue the final financial statements with the signed auditor's report and all nice and bound. If you guys so please, we can mail that to you. But I think both Scott and I know Scott obviously is more involved day to day. Want to thank Johnny and Tiffany for all of their help throughout the audit. Obviously, this was a virtual audit, and I know most of the time we do it here in the office, and we don't have to spend much time up there at Fraser Park. But you know, we didn't have the opportunity at all to stop into the office because of COVID. So we do appreciate the help and the emails and the scanning and all that good stuff that happens.
Well, we thank you too. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
And I think I did forget something that Scott and I kind of chit-chatted about, and this is up to you guys. Obviously, last year we issued these financial statements before COVID was a thing, or a more real thing, I think. For the financial statements that we issued after that, once the pandemic hit, we did add a disclosure in the financials, a subsequent events disclosure, of just the fact, and I'll read it to you. As a result of the spread of COVID, economic uncertainties have arisen, which could potentially have a negative impact on the company's operations, though such impact is unknown at this time. For financial statements being issued now, it's not a subsequent event because it's already occurred, obviously COVID. But if that was something you wanted to add a little blurb in the financial in note 1 or somewhere else, as far as just the fact that it's out there, that's up to you guys. I can have Scott or myself, we can send you that little blurb so you can just kind of think about it. It's not required. It's just something to bring up just because we are still in COVID. I didn't know if
And we have had some effects, which I think will be more
for this year.
noticeable. Yeah.
Right.
This coming year. So I think it would be good, but if we could read that, and we probably will want to include it. Is
Okay.
my take.
Okay.
Yeah,
Scott?
I think so too, because, you know, we've not been able to, turn people's water off, or, you know, if people haven't paid their bills, and so, you know, there is a financial impact, you know,
Right.
over time, because some people, are significantly behind,
Right.
so.
Okay. So,
So-
Scott, if you don't mind sending that over to the group, that little blurb that we used last year for subsequent events. And obviously it's up to you guys as a board if you want to tweak it or change something else, or even in the schedule of rates on page 26, if there's some rates that you've changed or aren't charging because of COVID, if you want to add, you know, a little asterisk to those and make a little note, we definitely could do that. Like I said, these are your financial statements. So
I think we should do that, Tiffany, so that it reflects the change that happened in March or April. And I know for this coming one that there'll be some changes because we also received a couple of grants to cover some COVID. So we lost some money, but then we also got some grants to cover some things.
right.
So, but that's not this one. So.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's all for our presentation, or at least for the financial statements. So I know obviously we have some changes, so I don't believe it can technically be approved, but I think you might be able to approve it with changes to come. That's up to you guys, but you know, we'll be
Yeah,
able.
I would entertain a motion that we approve the financial with the changes, that we've discussed.
Okay, perfect.
I can't make the motion because
Yeah. Yeah, I can do that. I will go ahead and move to approve this pending some extra language that Johnny needs to put in for the management discussion, and with the other amendments that we talked about.
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Garcia, second that. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson,
Hi.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried 500. And do we need to approve the letter separately?
No, that doesn't need approval because that's just required communication.
That's
So-
required once
Right.
it's all finalized.
Right. You get
Okay.
it whether you want it or not.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good. Well, thank
and
you
so
guys for your
we're
hard work, and thank you for coming tonight, and
No, of course.
We're talking about a week that you need these changes, or
It's up to you. It's up to you, Lisa, because you know, obviously the longer it takes, it's just the longer it takes to issue the financials. So, you know, we'll check with you in about a week. But maybe if between a week to 2 weeks.
yeah, that sounds
Reasonable.
a little bit better, because I
Okay.
know keep coming up for Johnny, and I don't want to. And
Right.
we need to look at some of those amendments that we talked about.
Right. No, we'll.
And Tiffany doesn't have anything else to do.
Right. Nobody else has anything to do. Yes. No. We're plenty busy on this side as well. So yeah. So we'll do about 2 weeks, and either Scott or myself will bug Johnny if we don't hear back in about a week and a half or so, just as a reminder, and then we'll just go from there. But once again, hopefully everyone is staying healthy and safe, and we appreciate your business. And of course, if there's anything throughout the year after the audit that you need, I know Scott is your contact, but definitely I'm available as well at any point in time. So thank you very much.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much. You have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Moving on to number 9, discussion vote on accounts payable and financial information. That would be you, Linda Wilkie.
And this time we need to allow Linda to give us all the details first before we move on to check detail, etc.
Thank you,
Okay,
Lisa.
hi everyone. Okay, well, I've worked hard I still have a little bit to learn about your account, but anyways, I just wanted to say that the total cash balance for the revenue operating account is 18588.97, and the checks were cut on March 10th. That will be applied to that balance, bringing that down to, okay. I didn't write it down.
And-
Let me see.
And just so I don't forget, Linda, I did make a mistake. I talked about it earlier in the meeting. I transferred a second. I thought, I went on California Bank and Trust, and I thought when
Thought we
I
were gonna let her give her report first.
okay, well, let's
Yeah,
just stop.
I have your transfers here. I may not have the one you used to fix whatever it is that you did, but because it's in March, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that
It won't,
probably
so it
will
doesn't. So it doesn't matter. Yeah, it'll matter next month. Sorry.
not till the end of March, and then, yeah, no, that's okay. So anyway, so the ending balance of the operating account, now I don't have the full amount of all the accounts together because I don't have my reports with me. So I'm sorry for that, but I was able to get the ending balance from Brahma, and then I have the checks here, the check printout. So the balance after the checks of 6,603, I'm sorry, 66,038.34 were written. The ending balance for the operating account was $114,550.63. So I'm sorry, I apologize. I don't have my accounts with me. I'm still learning what I need to have with me, where and when. And let's see. That's about the only information I have right now. But I did have a few questions.
Okay, and
And if-
I have a couple of questions too, just in regard, because I know there were a number of voided checks, and a couple of them did not get, were not taken out of the total. So the
Right.
total you gave us, is that with those removed or before they are removed?
That's with the checks removed. They are, yeah. There were
Well,
several that were
Well, I don't think you had the ones that I voided, Linda.
Linda. Okay,
So we
there's
can,
some correction.
yeah, do you have your check detail with you?
I do, that I have with me.
Okay, so we need to, so if I could just go, the first one on there is West Star Gases. That check was $53.92. I voided that check, and we're gonna have to change that, and you're gonna have to cut a new check for $59.88. Because that was the incorrect amount for that invoice.
Right.
Then the BC Lab, if you go down, the BC Lab for 117, you're going to need to take that out of the system. I voided that check because we had paid those two invoices last month.
Oh, gee, okay.
Yeah, and so one of the important things when you're putting things together is if we're receiving statements, we have to really verify that we have the invoice. Either look in the file to see if we paid the invoice numbers and kind of compare, because what happens is there's sometimes a cross, in the paperwork. We received the invoices and then we paid them already, and then what ends up happening is they send a statement out because they probably didn't receive the check yet, and so
Right. Exactly.
right, okay.
I understand.
So now
I must have missed.
Now I know you voided that CarQuest and D Jasper, the next two. The question would be, I don't know where those checks are at. Do you have those checks?
Okay.
14562.
Yeah, those are checks, for some reason, the checks were out of sequence. So those two checks were used last time on another, on two other bills. So what I did was when I ran the checks, this time I checked them to make sure that all the checks were in order. And those two were missing. So those two were used last time. So I don't think we checked to see if the checks were in order last time because they were out of order. So I put two pieces of paper in there
Right.
to,
Because
so
you
that
know,
the rest of the checks.
we want to keep the ones that we've voided and that we've written as voided. We want to make sure we keep them in a file.
Yes,
So that's fine. Then,
yes.
Hold on, Director Nyman. So you're saying those two checks, we actually previously used those check numbers?
Yes,
How
So they
is
might-
that?
yes.
so maybe they were out
And
of
I will
order.
They were out of order. Yes. The first time I ran checks, they were out of order. I didn't notice that. So this time when I went to run the checks, I looked at all of them to see if they were in order. And I noticed that I didn't have the physical checks.
Okay.
14.
So on your report, it reflects a check number, but that check number was already cut previously.
Right. And so I did that, so I didn't have to, so I could keep all the rest in sequence.
Okay.
Right.
But on the check register, I probably should have made a note to you guys on that.
Okay.
But I
Well,
thought
yeah.
of all these things, but
Yeah, and that
I was
and just to let you know, when I got the checks from you, the check register wasn't there. I had to have Tiffany print it. I know you're new and you're getting in the flow of things, so it's not a criticism. It's just I need to make sure I have the check register with the checks when I get them.
Yeah.
So.
yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
Barbara.
it's
I
fine,
thought that you
Linda.
got
I'm just bringing things up so that you're aware, because you're getting in the groove of how we operate and stuff, and it's going to take a minute because you really didn't get any good training from the previous bookkeeper who was supposed to give you training. So.
And I thought of that while I was bringing you the checks too. I said, I wonder if he probably would want a check register.
Yeah.
But I thought also you had it in your packet, so I
Right,
didn't
that's
know
fine.
if you had your packet already.
Can
Okay.
can I bring up one of the checks or should I wait?
Because I have. Why don't you wait till Brahma goes through the voided ones, and then I need to bring up stuff too. So
Right.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so then the next one is you're gonna have to take out of the system, Linda, out of QuickBooks, is the Ferguson, check number 14564 for $382.96. That was also one where we received a statement and we paid that invoice last month. So, so the last ones were, okay. I don't know what the Kern County one, why we voided that one. So you're gonna have to take that out of the system, 14570.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
I didn't cross it out on yours. Did I cross
Okay.
it out on yours?
No,
no, it's not a zero. It doesn't zero out.
it doesn't zero out. So we want to make sure that that gets taken out of QuickBooks.
I took it out after I ran this report.
Okay. Then, okay, of course, we had the one for me and Rebecca Gibson, and those are zeroed out. So those are obviously out of the system. So I don't have to worry about that. And let's see if there was any more. Oh, yeah. And then you had one that a CarQuest one, 14586, but you've zeroed that out of the system. So
There's another one at the end, Director Nyman. It's California Bank and Trust.
okay, I'm getting there. I'm going through the whole check register. I'm getting to the end. So then of course, now this is something we're going to have to work out. The California Bank and Trust, we voided the $1,642.19 because we paid that particular invoice last month. We need to make sure we take this voided check out of the system, out of QuickBooks. And I do need you to cut, and I left it on your desk for the new statement. So I'd like to get that cut, maybe by Monday, because I'll have to run it around and get signatures, and because we have to take it over the bank so we don't end up with a late charge.
Okay, sure.
So the two checks I'm going to be looking for is a new California Bank and Trust, and then the West Star Gas. So those are the two that I need to have cut, and so we can take care of those. And then the last one I didn't. So basically, what happens every month, Linda, is the bank doesn't send us physical invoices anymore, and the statement is done on the 5th of the month. So anytime after the 5th of the month, we have to go on the bank, and I don't know if you have access yet, so we'll have to get.
I believe so. Unless
So we have to go into the credit cards, and we need to print those statements, and then we match them with the invoices, which Johnny will give you, and then we need to pay them by the first board meeting every month. So so that we don't end up being late. So that's all I got right there. So you want to go ahead, Lisa, before we get on to what I think I know what Johnny wants to talk about.
Okay, so one of the things is the auto pay that we really need to do for AT&T UVerse. We talked about it, I believe, at the last meeting. We keep getting $10 late fees, so we just need to make sure that, and I think Johnny may need to do that, but
Yeah, I'll do it.
yeah,
I just forgot.
do a credit card auto pay. And then I had a question. Okay, so I'm just going to go through back from the top. So CarQuest de Lebec, the first one that's there, it's a battery for the backhoe, and we have it under vehicle maintenance. I believe that's supposed to be listed under equipment maintenance, if it's truly a battery for the backhoe.
It is.
Okay, so Linda, so there's two different lines there. There's a vehicle maintenance is, really the trucks and the Polarises and stuff, and anything like the backhoe would be under equipment maintenance.
And she wouldn't have known that because the invoice wasn't with the state.
Right.
So because normally what Johnny will do is mark what it is, and so we need to make that change from vehicle maintenance to equipment maintenance.
There's a couple of these that I think were wrong. They're wrong from previous checks cut. So in your system, they're probably coming up because it's the same check that gets month. They're coming up automatically in the wrong category. So I'm going to just go over those real quickly. So the next one, even though it's a voided check, but when we do BC Laboratories, it's coming up as Prop 218 expenses, which it should not be. I don't know why. So that's I don't
Distribution, yeah. It should be distribution.
No, it's not. It's not distribution. It's a lab fee.
Oh no, it's fees and
yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, fees and
Yeah. Hold on. I'm gonna try to find that. I just don't have that in front of me. What it actually falls under. Give me a second. But yeah, it should be fees. I guess I could pull up the budget, but it should be under the. It's not in that report. Hold on. See if I can find it.
Testing and lab fees, 51082.
there we go.
Director Nyman beat me to the punch.
51082.
51082.
Okay.
82. It's testing and lab
Got
fees. So anytime you see BC Labs, it goes under testing and lab fees.
I will change that.
Okay, and then, so the next one, comes up under Fraser Park Lumber, and it's a vehicle maintenance, I believe, not, and it came up under dump truck, which I believe is one of our assets, but it really should be it really should say, that wasn't the dump truck, right, Johnny?
Expense.
That was
don't even-
vehicle maintenance?
I don't even know if it was Ace. What was
It was,
Hold,
no,
hold on, I can pull the thing. Just give me a second.
it was Ace, yeah.
yeah, but I'm asking what the
I
product
know,
was.
I'm
we bought.
getting there. I gotta pull the paperwork. I have. it in
Easy,
front of me.
easy, Brahma. I was just clarifying. Calm down. It'll be
Director
all right.
Director Nyman has that.
Okay, Johnny wrote vehicle, it was, motor oil, 5W35 quarts and a plastic funnel for
Yeah, so it's
$29.47.
Yeah, vehicle maintenance. Yeah.
So that should be under vehicle maintenance.
And
And
then
then-
in that same spot, the next one down is under distribution, but it should really be under tools.
And what's that for?
A
It's for
shovel,
a
long-handed
shovel.
shovel.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's right.
You
Even
made
though
that,
the-
I got you. You made that mistake. It's okay, Johnny.
Yeah,
You got it.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate
Sorry,
it.
I missed
Cut me
that.
down. Cut me down. Yeah.
So all of these, Linda, are under Fraser Park Lumber. So it's the
Yeah.
very first invoice, which is,
$29.47, for $29.47. Yes.
Yeah. 2947 should be vehicle. The 1608 should be tools.
Okay.
The 3053 or one of these, I
No,
think
it's 39.65.
no, 3965 is a separate one. One of them
That
is
should be office.
right. That should be office. So 3965. Well, here, let's go the one he said first, which is 3965. That's broom and dustpan and garbage bags and stuff. That all goes under office expense, not
Okay.
distribution. And then there's also a cooler, which is for the.
That's under the 3053.
Yeah,
Right.
is that cooler, Johnny, for taking items down for testing, or is that a cooler for the guys when they're out in the field?
It's for taking items down for testing.
Okay, so I guess that could be under distribution system, but I'm not sure
Yeah.
if it's distribution.
Well,
or
that's what I figured. That's what I figured because it's part of the distribution process.
Okay, so that one's kind of that one's one of those ones that Donnie just
It's a wobbler.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and then let's see. On the sorry.
Can I say so? I just want to say that Johnny did put office on the 3965. I remember seeing that.
Yeah,
Okay.
he did. It should.
Yeah,
it
he
should-
did.
So, yeah, so we need to change that.
Right.
Okay. So then, the next page, I don't really have anything that needed to be changed, I don't think. But then the page after that, our website, and we mentioned this, and I don't remember what we said at the last meeting. Tiffany would, and I know she doesn't put that in the minutes because it goes under the manager's report. But we had Streamline is our website, and it should definitely not be under computer maintenance. It's that $200 a month, which happens every month, needs to go. And we had
Professional services.
yeah,
maybe?
I think we had decided that we needed a category under professional services for website. And I don't remember because unfortunately I'll have to either go through or Tiffany needs to maybe help me go through the I believe it was either the last meeting or the meeting before that, we mentioned both this one and then the next one I'm going to say, because they were those Linda Sheldon had in the wrong spot and they just didn't get changed.
Okay, so we have a website category. that I
Yeah,
should move
we
that to.
we don't, and so we may need to. And I was going to ask Scott if that was would be an issue if it's getting moved, since Scott's here from, it's been going under computer maintenance this whole time, which it's not. It's not computer maintenance.
Sorry, which invoice?
We have an invoice for Streamline that's $200 a month. It's for our website. So we should categorize that as something either do one for website or do one for professional services. I don't know what would be best.
Yeah, we weren't sure, and we had a whole discussion about this, I believe, last month, and we decided what it should be, and we were going to ask you just to double check, and then it didn't change, and we didn't ask, I don't think either. So
I mean, honestly, board preference, as long as it makes sense, I wouldn't complain, but professional services seems kind of like a decent one, or some sort of IT services, probably.
right.
Oh, IT services maybe, but that's the
Yeah.
same as computer.
Well, it's not the same as computer maintenance because it's not maintenance. So that way we can track in our budget what we're actually spending to fix our computers as opposed to what we're spending to have someone do our website for us. So that's just like a website.
Okay, so how about under professional services, under that website service?
Yeah, I think you could just do that website.
Yeah,
or-
so add a category, website service. That would be great.
Okay,
And then the same with transaction warehouse. Transaction warehouse is also, that was for 326. That's a monthly fee, and that is not computer maintenance. It's basically the billing. It's the transaction fees for us for credit card use. And so that needs to
Oh,
be used
merchant
somewhere.
service. That's merchant services.
Right.
Merchant credit card fees, was that
Correct.
what we put it under? So that's 64110. Merchant credit card fees.
Okay,
And
So that
And
one
then-
needs to change. Go ahead.
And then the next one down, Unified Field, we have a partial payment number 3 that's coming up. That is under transmission, but again, it should not be under transmission. All of the payments for Wolf Tank, I'd like to go into one place so that we can see exactly what we paid, because that's all coming out of our capital reserve. And I'm transferring those amounts every time back into our revenue, our operating revenue. And so that needs to be in a different category as well, because that's a Wolf Tank, that's a partial payment for a contract to do Wolf Tank. So that's a project. And Wolf Tank, I believe, would be under our, and I was going to ask Scott about that as well, because it should, I believe, be under our, it's an asset. We're going to end up with a new booster and booster housing, etc.
So basically, go ahead, Scott. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. I was just gonna say that if it's a new asset, I mean, you could create a separate construction in progress account for assets like that. You can do it either by individual asset, or honestly, I probably, if you're not doing a lot of them simultaneously, you can do them into just like a single construction in progress account. And then when we do the audit, or towards the end of the year, I can send you can just run a list of all those invoices and just, mark them down and hand them to us when you're done. Like, these 17 invoices are for these 3 different projects, and just identify which is which and sum up all the costs at the end of the year.
okay. So I would set up a construction progress account and put all the Wolf Tank payments in there.
Yes, because those
then
are going
have
to
the-
continue until we're done with that project. I mean, and
So
we
are
will,
there,
So there's several others, Linda. You'd have to get with Tiffany because we had two other progress payments, one for 67,000 and one,
I remember that one.
well,
and one
we
for like
talked, we
57,000.
talked about that, and I believe that Linda last month put the second partial payment, and maybe the month before that, the first one. I'm not sure how she did it. I need to go back and look, but it needed to be listed somehow under Wolf Tank and not under just a transmission maintenance.
Right. Okay, so I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna set it up on the balance sheet and we'll move all of those payments by journal entry into the new account from the old accounts, from the expense account. So, because, let's see, where are these going right now? Yeah, these are in, oh no, this is in an asset section, so it won't change but anyway, so I will open up a new account, Scott, and move those three payments out of this account into the new account. How's that,
And
Lisa?
there's more, Linda. So maybe you, the three of us with Tiffany, maybe we can just. She's been tracking those payments, so she does have a spreadsheet, and yeah, it's a number of different voices, but they're all for the same project.
Are they large amounts or small amounts? What,
Well,
you know?
both. So the
Are they
partial payments are numbered and they're large amounts, but the smaller ones, which like one was 27,000, but that encompassed three different invoices from D Jasper. That was from last month, and that's so some of them are grouped together, and I know there's one here that you paid to D Jasper. That's all Wolf Tank also, which are those. It totaled 3,239.60. And it's three separate invoices, but they're all Wolf Tank.
Oh, okay. Okay, and those went through to the 3,239.50, 60?
Yeah,
That went
and those
to,
distribution, which it shouldn't.
okay, it should go to Wolf Tank for the construction progress account, right?
Correct.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so there's a few more that have happened. Tiffany's been really great about tracking those, so we just have to kind of go back and find those. But yeah,
Okay.
they're a little goofy. And then the last one I think was the under Director Nyman, one of the director's fees, $100 payment was attributed to FPPUD Lake of the Woods project, but it's not. It's just a straight director's fee for the that should just be under director's fees instead
Yeah,
of
it's the one for for 22520, Linda. The where it says number, that was the date. The
Oh, 225, that's just the planning meeting, right?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I put directors,
Oh no, let's see.
Well, the planning meeting on everyone else says directors, so we need to do one or the other. Either the planning meeting is always going under FPPUD Lake of the Woods, or
Well, she's got it right, Lisa.
no.
I'm looking at I'm looking at yours. I'm sorry. Okay, where's mine?
It's not consistent. Mine, it's under director's fees. Yours, it's under FPPUD Lake of the Woods.
Right.
So one or the other. I mean, but I
Yeah,
think
yeah. No, that one
Previously-
225. You are correct, Lisa. That one FPPUD should be changed to director's fees.
right, because previously we've been doing that every single time. It's been going on for years like that. So I don't think we want to change that right now. So yeah, so that's all the ones I had. And the only other thing I had a question about is we didn't have postage on here, but I have some issues with the postage, Johnny, and I just feel like we never, like, we need to get invoices or something from the post office. I know they drag their heels on that, but I really feel
Wait, Lisa, you did have one more. The D Jasper and Associates for $3,239.60. That one's also Wolf.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I talked about that already.
Oh, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
as far as the postage goes, like I've explained before, the post office does not issue statements anymore. So you have to log into an account. I've been to the post office 10 times at least. A lady even arrogantly said, "Come back here, I'll show you how to do it." She takes me back. But somebody, I believe during the eco days, signed up for an account with a password to print statements and be able to access their account. I have not found any way to negate that and create a new one for me, nor can anybody at the post office tell me that. So when I walk in and ask them, typically I can get the people that have been there for a while to print me a statement to show me how much money is there. So I need to start getting in the habit of going in there and asking the people that'll do it, but they're not supposed to print it. They're supposed,
okay,
you're
Mama?
supposed to access your account.
Right. I just feel like it's really hard to track. Like, right now, I believe there's like 1,400 in there. I don't think we really needed an extra 500, but there's no way for me to follow it.
Yeah, and then when we can't track it real good, then all of a sudden we wind up not having enough, and then they won't let me use the credit card to pay the difference because for some reason there's a block in the account, which also was caused from the eco days, I believe. I could go in and buy $5,000 worth of stamps, but I can't pay for the mailing of the bills on the permit with my credit card. So it's frustrating.
Right. So I don't know. I'm frustrated with that because I can't ever follow what's going on with it. So.
Maybe Linda, when she comes in to do bills, she could remind me when she's in there. I'll run down to the post office while she's there, try to get a printout, and I'll bring it back and she can reconcile the account that way. That would work as well.
Just something that makes it easier to follow.
Absolutely. And I do have one comment about one of the checks. Now is the time.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I thought the last meeting was our last payment to Linda Sheldon. She submitted another bill for another $1,000. I think that's absurd. We got a letter from the IRS stating that since she did not get the 1099s out, we got this nasty gram letter. She repeatedly stated that she did that. She didn't. To my knowledge, she only came one time during that month. So I think at the most that check should be $250. At the most, she did not do a month's worth of work.
Yeah,
So that $1,000 check should be recut for $250. And when she complains about it, we just state simply what I just said.
Right. So I had a question on that as well. So
Okay.
the question was, I believe, she came in and did do some work in February with Linda.
Linda, do you know exactly when Linda, what work she did with you in February?
Yeah, in February, she paid all the bills, entered all the deposits, ran all the reports. She did everything.
At the first meeting, right?
The whole month for that one meeting, yes. And we were there she was there from 10:30 to midnight. I was there from 11 to midnight.
Yeah. You know what the problem is she stated to me, she stated Tiffany, she stated to Linda Wilkie repeatedly that she had already done the 1099s. She promised I'd mail them on Friday. She never did. So just the extra added cost of all the rest of us, I don't think she should get a month's pay.
Here's the deal. I don't think she should get a month either, only because basically Linda Wilkie did the even if she printed stuff at the beginning of the month, Linda Wilkie did all of the going to the meeting and all of the reports and everything for the second meeting. So I was thinking 500 instead of 1,000, but I also want to make sure that Linda Wilkie got paid for the meeting.
When did you were at the meeting in January, correct, Linda?
Yes.
And you had already, so you were, but you had started. When did you start working?
Well, I think went to a couple of meetings in January, or one meeting in January.
Went to
And
That,
then
one-
all
that
the
was the
meetings,
preliminary, yeah.
So I think we owe Linda Wilkie $500.
Right, that would be my suggestion, would be that Linda Sheldon get half of that fee for her work in the beginning of February, and that if we hadn't already paid Linda Wilkie for January, that she get the other half of the fee for her work in January, which I believe she didn't get paid for. I could be wrong, but
I wasn't even expecting anything for January. Actually, I didn't.
Yeah,
even-
I don't have any problem at all with doing that.
But Linda,
because
you were,
Wilkie shows up.
you were showing up and you were working, so I think you need to
Well-
get paid for that.
Well,
So,
in January, she wasn't working yet. I believe she was talking to us about the establishment
Right.
of her taking over the bookkeeping services, which I
Right.
still don't have a problem with her getting some money for that, but that was just setting up whether she's going to take it over. In February, she did the lion's share of the work. But like I explained to her, we contract with the bookkeeper to do all the financials for $1,000 a month. So you should get paid if we have to split it up. If somebody left mid-month, you would get paid a percentage of that $1,000 instead of billing hours. But if you want to give her something extra for January, then I'm all for that too, because she at least shows up. Linda Wilkie shows up 2 times or 3 times for each meeting, unlike past bookkeepers. So I don't have a problem with that.
so I would like Linda Wilkie to submit us a bill for January meeting, and we'll pay her $500. And we'll, if the board is okay with that. And then also, so what are the other board members? Are they okay with that?
Did, Linda,
because-
did you work in February? Or did you
I
get paid for
did.
February?
Well, she was at both
getting paid
meetings.
she's getting paid for February. So for February, we have her down for $1,000. So basically on this check detail, we're paying both Linda Wilkie and Linda Sheldon $1,000 each. So, but that's not really what happened, because the second meeting was entirely Linda Wilkie. The first meeting was Linda Sheldon. There were definitely issues with the 1099s, but we had already agreed last month to go ahead and pay for the 1099, because we did end up using the 1099 that was submitted by Linda Sheldon, even though she submitted everything late.
Yeah, really late. Yeah.
And Linda Wilkie had to go through a considerable amount of extra work that she wouldn't have had to do if everything went smoothly for the 1099s, even though they were not correct and we couldn't use them. But that's because we had no idea what was going on with the original 1099. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think, I definitely don't think it warrants Linda Sheldon doing the entire month, because she wasn't at either meeting. She wasn't at the final January meeting, nor was she at the final February meeting. Linda Wilkie was at both and basically answered the questions, even though on the final February meeting she wasn't final January meeting she wasn't really working yet, but she was there and she was participating as the book.
You guys want to take a vote on that when I am off?
No, I think we just need to see what everybody says, and we could decide. What is your thoughts on it, Director Garcia?
I'm in favor of splitting the January fee between them.
So,
It's not the January, it's the February for Linda Sheldon would need to be halved, and then that half would pay for, and Linda Wilkie already got 1,000 for all of February, but it would pay for additional services because she spent more time in February than she should have, having to try to reconstruct 1099s, which didn't end up working, but she put in a good amount of time on that, and she was at the board meeting in the end of January and didn't get paid for that.
Yes, I'm in favor of paying her for that.
Director Gibson?
Well, you know what? I have a real problem with our former bookkeeper's honesty or dishonesty. You know, and it's been eating away at me all month that we paid her for the 1099s. And so splitting it, like I'm with Johnny to give her less.
She did the 1099s though. She just didn't do them in a timely fashion, and that's the ones
Well,
that.
but for 2 weeks she stated when she mailed them, and then she never had done it any time until 2 weeks later when she finally submitted them and did them.
But my thing
Yeah,
about it
and-
is she did drive out from Nevada, and she spent the first meeting in February, so she definitely deserves half
Yeah.
that money.
Online with
I-
us.
Well, she also came out to finish up business that she still has in Fraser Park, as well as visiting family. So she didn't come out just for us.
I know.
Right, but she showed up for us. I mean, I'm not happy with her either, but I think we have to be fair in the fact that she did show up and do the work with Linda Wilkie in the beginning of February.
Well, if we just pay her the 500, then we could just move on and not have to deal with it anymore. So
That's my
But
feeling.
how fair is it? How fair is it that she billed us for a whole month for February? How
Well,
fair is that?
it's not fair, but it's probably cheaper than litigation. So maybe we should just go ahead and do it, and then
I
just
guess
move on
so.
with the bookkeeper.
So
It is
so-
frustrating for me though, in the extreme.
Well, we do pay on our contract with her. We do pay for 4 times that she's come out, correct?
Yeah, well, she's supposed to be there for at least 4 meetings, so that actually means 8 times showing up in the office. She never did that, and there was always problems because she didn't do it. So even if she showed up 2 times a month would have been $250. 8 times would have been the $1,000. She showed up 1 time, to my knowledge, to train, maybe 2. So the most she should have coming is $500. That's the most.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally in favor of $500, but I think, I'm not in favor of $1,000.
Me either.
So do we need to vote on this, or do we need to?
No, you have to vote. You have to decide, or you just have to go ahead and just pay the $1,000.
Well, and we can't, well,
Not
yeah.
on the agenda.
Well, no, it is discussion vote on accounts payable and financial information, so we can vote on it because it is one of the checks on the check detail. So, yeah. It's discussion and a vote, and we still haven't voted to pay our bills yet, so it's still on the table.
So I entertain a motion that we only pay Linda Sheldon $500 for the month of February, because she only came in the one time and she missed the other meeting. Does somebody want to make that motion?
Not I.
Okay, well, I would like to move that we split the payment for Linda Sheldon, who is billing us $1,000 for February bookkeeping, but she only did half of February. Linda Wilkie did the second meeting in February. So I would like to pay $500 to Linda Sheldon for February and use the other $500 to reimburse Linda Wilkie for the extra work that she needed to do on the 1099s and the meeting she came to in January.
Shouldn't that be 2 motions?
Would you like it to be 2 motions?
I would.
Because it's 1 check.
1 check, yeah, I mean, but
I think.
I'm all
you
for
shouldn't-
giving,
I
I'm
don't
all
think you
for
should-
giving. I'm
Go
listening.
ahead, Director Gibson. Go ahead.
I am definitely for giving Linda Wilkie money for January. But I am really opposed to giving Linda Sheldon an additional 500 for February.
So why don't you make two motions, Director
You know
Schoenberg?
what? I think this is out of order. I think we have to do this. Okay, I'm sorry because I started making a motion, but really, I think we need to do this as the pay motion for accounts payable and financial information. So I think it needs to be, that we pay our bills and then within the motion to pay the bills and then the exceptions of what we're doing with those bills. So I think I'm wrong in making it a separate motion.
Okay, so then you're gonna get some no's in paying our bill. That's why I think it should be separate.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can actually do that.
Okay, well, go ahead and make the motion then to pay our bills.
Because the problem is that really we needed to put that probably on the agenda so that Linda Sheldon had a chance to address it. And if we motion to pay the bills with the exception of that bill and hold that bill, then we can address it and it can be on the following payment cycle.
But then you have to contact her.
Well, that's fine. We can go ahead and send her an agenda and let her do it. Let her go on there. So I think that's a good idea. I think if you
Yeah,
just
I think that's probably a better way to do it because it didn't.
withhold the check and carry it over to the next regular meeting.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'd like to move that we pay all of our bills with the exception of the extra voided checks that Director Nyman did and discussed, and with the exception of the payment to Linda Sheldon, which we will hold and pay and address next month. Or actually, we could even address it at the next meeting. I think that would be a little bit more fair. So
And the checks that Linda Wilkie will cut for California Bank and Trust and West Star Gas.
okay, yeah, I'll accept that friendly amendment.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second that.
Okay, roll call of directors, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson,
Aye.
did you put in there about Linda Wilkie?
No.
No, but we can discuss that at the, I mean,
Okay,
At the
okay,
next meeting, yeah.
okay, Director Gibson was an aye. Director
Mhm.
Kelly,
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye. Director
Director
Schoenberg. Okay, the ayes have it 500. So we'll hold back. So I'm going to just hold this check.
And Tiffany, if we can move that to the next meeting, so it's still the meeting in March, so that we're not holding it too long.
I'll do that. I'll have it on the agenda.
Thank
And then
you.
Johnny, you'll contact or send her an email explaining and what we intend on doing, and she has an opportunity to come on to the meeting if she wishes.
Well, actually, since she refuses to acknowledge emails or text messages from me, I think that we'll send her the agenda that has it on there that discuss vote on the payment of Linda Sheldon for February's meeting. I think that will be sufficient, don't you?
I think you can do both. I mean, I think we need to not.
I think it's
personalize it.
better to put it in an email because then she knows up front, and then she can address it
All right.
however she wants to address it. And then later on, because if she decides to do some sort of action, that we've been fair and upfront with her and transparent.
All right. No problem.
Okay.
Hey,
I had one other, oh, go ahead, Linda.
Okay, I wanted to ask Scott a couple of questions.
Okay, let me, before you do that, I have one question to Johnny. On the USA Blue Book,
Yeah,
what is the, this Pulsatron for $629.95?
we actually discussed that 2 weeks ago at the meeting. That's a chlorinator, a chlorine injector. That is a backup injector, which is sitting in my office. But we discussed that last time. I thought we'd already,
Oh,
that.
so you better check that, Brahma, because I think we paid that already.
I think we paid that already because we had this discussion last meeting.
Okay, well, when I go into I'll go into the office tomorrow and pull out Blue Book to see if we've paid that on this, so.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I've only ordered one of those in several months. So if we paid it last month, we shouldn't have to pay it again this month.
I totally agree, so I'll go ahead and check and see if we paid it.
Thank
So
you, Brown.
I'll hold that one, that check back too. And just verify it. If it's correct, I'll put it in the mail. If it's not correct, I'll take it out and then Linda can cut a new check for that. Okay, go ahead, Linda.
Scott, now, the books, they are on an accrual basis, is that correct?
Yeah, I'd say accrual with some exceptions. There's a couple of things that we have kind of traditionally done the accruals for. I think if you asked Danira and I, our preference would be that they be fully on the accrual system and that we wouldn't be, as the auditors, we're supposed to be independent, and ideally we would like to do as few accrual adjustments as possible. But there have been historically some adjustments to get to the accrual system that we have been booking.
So in essence, we're actually reporting everything on a cash basis, but you're doing the accruals at the end of the year.
They've been accruing. No, I mean, they've been accruing accounts payable, accounts receivable. There are some of those adjustments that we have been proposing, and then the district would approve to get there. But I think I'd have to go through the list, but I think it's pretty much limited to, I think we've done given them the district some assistance, proposing the adjustments, trying to think off the top of my head, accrued payroll, I think at the end of the year is probably the big one, and some assistance with.
Okay, Scott, because here's the process. They pay their bills when they receive them. They don't accrue them. They're paid immediately. So I don't believe I have to double look, but I don't even think there's no payables. There's very little payables on the books. And I think that they're just misclassifications.
That could be. We as auditors, not to go too far down that rabbit hole, for a lot of reasons, we do tests around that. I mean, at your average year end, they have $30,000 in payable invoices, and we do tests and to make sure that they are accruing appropriately. I mean, we have found error or issues in the past where things weren't accrued, but I wouldn't say universally.
So can you give me some kind of guidance on what you want me to accrue? Shall I just proceed with the way we're doing the books now? Or do you want me to change to a full accrual basis?
As the auditor, I don't get I can recommend, but that's up to the district.
I see. Okay.
The ideal situation would be that the district do accruals, and if you as the bookkeeper are able to do those at year end, that's the only time we see them as the auditors. So if you're just doing a single and we have other like corporate clients who do the same kind of thing, where you do cash basis 11 months of the year, but then when you finish up June, you do a bunch of adjustments and then you leave the books open
Right.
to accrue just that 1 month, and then you go back
Right.
to cash basis afterwards. That might be the most, I mean, I think a lot of corporate clients also find that to be kind of like the most efficient method for them.
I have a question about that, Linda. Is there a benefit to changing the way we've been doing things? It seems to have been working, or is it just something that's preferred by you as a way to bookkeep? Because it seems to be everything's working fine. We have a good system. If we change too much up, I'm fearful that we're going to go back a few years when we also had a bunch of problems, concerns.
No, well, I just, because I hear them talk accrual, the auditors talk accrual, and then, I look at the books and they're actually being done on a cash basis. They're not being accrued. So I wanted to verify just what we're doing. But no, I think that, I think that the accruals can wait till the end of the year, and then we do the accruals then, and then just keep doing the books the way they are being done now. So I just wanted to verify, what's going on and make
That
sure.
sounds pretty cool. No.
Yeah. I just don't want to make any big changes.
That's really funny.
I just don't want to make any big changes at the beginning of this working relationship with you. I want to slowly, as things need to be changed, we can work with with Lisa and the board members and figure out what needs to be changed. But for right now, I would just be happy to have a few months of no issues. That'd be good.
Absolutely. I'm with you. I'm not ready to take anything extra on right now.
Yeah,
I still have a lot to
I
learn.
think it's good. I think it's good for you to get a few months into doing the book, so you get into a rhythm and an understanding, and we all get to where we're like a well-oiled machine.
Flowing.
So
Yeah.
Scott, what you're saying is that we have been doing sort of this methodology, and then you've been helping Linda with the accruals at the end of the year. I mean, just start making suggestions, or
We not quite, I think, the way that was described. Linda, the district, from an audit perspective, the district provides us the books, and then if there are things that need to be adjusted for the books to be correct, we propose adjustments for those, some of which we have done like historically every year, which accrued payroll, for instance. I think we've generally just got the information from
ADP, right?
And then we've
Right.
the accrual.
Right. Well, that kind of needs to be done that way because it's a separate company doing payroll, correct? So
I mean,
No,
yeah, I mean,
not necessarily, but
no,
the
yeah.
process is good.
Yeah, the bookkeeper could.
The process, that's good.
Yeah, Linda, I mean, those are the processes as they're going are good. Linda could do a single year end accrual for payroll. I mean, she could just open up when the final payroll comes by in July, she could just update the accrual appropriately. If it's accrue 7 days, I'm certain she can calculate that math and book it. So, I mean, I sounds like.
yeah, the only thing that I get weird about, which was happening, is like all of the journal entries that happen to kind of compensate for, I know I think we solved some of the bad debt issues, but there was like a lot of issues in that area. So yeah, I just that's my worry, is that.
Yeah, I mean,
So Lisa, I'm gonna, go ahead, Scott.
I was just saying, I mean, there's not necessarily a single given ideal, but as auditors, we certainly, are kind of like the
Hey,
ideal.
what's going on, Charlie? There's nothing over here for you.
Gerald Garcia. Mute yourself.
The deal is that we get the books and then we just test them to see if there's anything that needs to be done. And in the perfect world, there's nothing that we need, that we agree that the numbers are perfect the way they are and then move on. That's not, I mean,
Right.
that's not every day. So.
Right.
Nope.
Okay, Lisa, now, the next question I'm going to ask Scott, I'm going to be meeting with you and he's probably going to tell us that this is a board decision also, but I wanted to just clear this with Scott and ask him if this is a good idea. Okay?
Okay, go ahead.
So Scott, I was looking at the books and I was thinking that, the district gets, grants and monies from different sources to pay for certain things. And so what I wanted to do down the line, not right now, because like I said, I've got my hands full, but I would like to start using classes to set up when we get a grant, for instance, we set we classify that to the Smith grant, and then all the expenses that are applied to that grant goes underneath Smith. Okay, so I wanted to know if that would be, a process that you would, verify that is good. Because right now, when I'm asked a question to go find this and find that, I can't find, I've got to search all over the place. I don't know where anything is. So I know that would clarify things a lot better.
I mean,
I just want to know if,
yeah, I mean, clearly it's the board's decision, but I mean, I also find classes, the use of classes in QuickBooks to be helpful at sorting through data. I mean, we have a lot of clients where that's very, very helpful if you want to track what are the expenses or the revenues on a specific project, like what does that look like?
Right.
And I know it's pretty big on a lot of the construction companies or companies that do like little bits of construction around their operations, where you can like track revenues and then expenses for projects separately. I've seen some where it's like much more extensive than the district would ever need to do, but you do like 30 different projects and you can track them all individually, so you can see like what have you been paid for in this class versus what did you expend in this class, and that can definitely be very helpful.
So that may be
Okay.
helpful with breaking up a whole project like we've had before with USDA. If we had a class, it would have the pipeline, the tanks, the boosters, different things classified underneath that class, correct?
Yeah, like
Right.
you wouldn't need to break out the GL, so you could have something go through repair and maintenance, but if it's part of the class, you could look at, like, you could still have $10,000 in for the year in repair and maintenance, but with a class you could look at and see that, okay, of that 10,000, specifically 1,000 of that was related to this exact specific project.
Right.
Right, but some of it we do want to break out because that's our big issue with the book asset detail, is that, it'll say something like USDA grant, and then once that grant's over, we have to take care of replacing something that is not going to be replaced by that grant, and then it's just one big lump thing that's being depreciated, and it's not separated out. And that's the thing where we really, really want to separate out different items. So like on a USDA, we want the tanks separate from the well, or the stuff like that.
Yeah, I think this would do different purposes than that. I mean, I get where you're going, but I like the use of the class, I think would be for different things. But Linda, I mean, I think Linda's got her answers. Just that, like, I think she can definitely propose to you what she thinks would work, and I think that.
Okay, I think we could talk about this in the future because we have a lot more to get to tonight.
Okay, so but I have an understanding of what Linda's saying too. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so let's thank you, everybody. Let's move on to number 10.
Were those all the questions that Linda had, or did she have any others?
Linda, were you done?
That was it. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
All right.
Scott.
Look forward to meeting you in person, hopefully once we're out of the Zoom era. So,
Yeah,
Yes.
that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, number 10, vote book on book asset detail. I think we need to table that.
Yeah, just nothing's progressed on that, so we can just,
Okay. Okay, so now we can move on. It's 8:23. We're moving on to unfinished business. 11, discussion vote on Fraser Park Lake of the Woods Consolidation Planning Project.
It's what time?
8:23.
Oh, okay.
I'm just denoting when we're going to the Lake of the Woods Consolidation Project.
Got it. I didn't realize that much time had passed. I'm having so much fun.
Rama, just to
Okay.
check, are we tabling
Sure.
the fixed asset thing?
Yeah, we're done with the financial business, Scott. So if you want to leave us, you're more than happy. Thank you for everything. And
Yeah, no, we're happy to. If
Thank
you
you,
want to, if you want to schedule to just sit down and talk through this again at a different time, I'm always available.
okay,
So just let me know. We're happy to do whatever we can do to help. So
okay.
Thanks, sir. Yeah,
Thank you,
have a good night.
Scott. Have a good evening.
good night, everyone.
thank you, Scott.
Okay, discussion vote on and I don't think we need Linda for anything else tonight. So Linda, if you'd like to go, you can go. You can go or you can stay. Oh,
I think tonight I'm going to sign off. Got a few
Okay.
things I got to do. So
Yeah,
I
that's-
thank you all very
Good
much.
night.
Thank you for your help. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Brahma. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you,
All
Have a
right.
great
Tiffany.
weekend.
have a
Everyone
good
else.
have a good evening.
Thanks,
Thank you. You
Linda.
too. Thank-
Okay, once again, a discussion vote on Testwell construction documents and schedule. D or?
I have the signed contract by Johnson Drilling. I'm going through the insurance. The bonds are fine. I'm checking the insurance. I've had our insurance broker go through the documents on the insurance. And so I'll bring those up, or if Johnny's in town next week, once I go through them, if there are no corrections that are needed, then they would be ready to sign.
Okay,
So right now, just kind of in the middle of a review, I got the kind of get the final documents on the 9th, I think it was. So just a few days ago.
okay.
So I'll have
we
it up there next week.
we don't have the okay. We don't have well 5 on here today, do we? Okay. B, discussion vote on engineering planning contract amendment. So
I
we,
just had Brahma, I just had a question on the contracts.
Sure.
Will your D, do you know, will the district's attorney be reviewing the contract documents prior to signature?
Yeah, that's the other thing I didn't mention. When I get through, I've forgotten. I need to send them over to Alan and have him go through them as well.
Okay,
And that, Dave, is not TA funds, correct? That's actually in the monies that we have for legal in the,
yes,
okay.
yes, there's about 6,000 in legal work.
so that would be a B, that would be a B invoice, D.
Help me out.
And just
Just saying.
to answer quickly what you were saying earlier, Director Nyman, well 5 will come up on number 12. It's now together with
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Okay, so,
Okay.
Dave, you had something?
Well, just prior to the start, I was just going to announce that to everybody. I meant to do at the last meeting that I'm going to be leaving self-help in July or at the end of July, and Carlos Bravo is coming back to this project. And so he's going to be transferring in and taking over what I'm doing. So I'll still be around till the end of July, but then I'm gone. So,
Oh, my God.
but I just, Carlos, I don't know.
You can't leave us, Dave. What?
He needs to enjoy his retirement for sure.
Didn't you sign something in blood with FPPUD?
I've only been with you guys half of my work at self-help. I've been with self-help for 40 years. So,
Wow, 40 years.
Wow.
40, Dave, you need to stay a little longer.
thanks, D. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah. Misery loves company, right, D? Sorry. No,
Yeah.
I'm teasing. It's not. No, D is a lifelong appointee to the work, and he's been there longer than I have. So 40 years is slim pick, is not very long. But I will be available. I always have my cell phone. I'll always be available. But my goal is to get Carlos up to speed because he had worked with you folks earlier. And Oscar will be still working on the meter and the well 5 replacement project. And so we hope to see you. I'd like to be invited to a groundbreaking someday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyways, it's not goodbye, but just going to give you that update. That's all.
Wow.
Dave.
Thanks for depressing me.
Yeah, that's a big loss.
Okay. B, discussion vote on engineering planning contract. I think the only thing is, we don't have a full contract yet. I think we were still having discussions on that. Is that right, Director Schoenberg? I'm kind of, because we were talking about, we're still hashing out like the MSR and all that other stuff, line items.
No, this is the engineering contract with D, and it's the amendment that he did, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, Lisa.
And we
And,
didn't approve that?
No,
No.
I needed to make some changes and I just realized I didn't. There were some wording changes and then some changes that, Lisa requested to really make this clearer. And
Oh, yeah, breaking out the
Yep. Oh, well, that
inspection and all that.
Yeah,
Yep.
we're doing that on the Wolf tank. But what we did on this one is, for each one of the items, I put a total, and there were a couple of them I see that I didn't, for some reason, put the total. And then I describe whether I'm decreasing or increasing. And so the board, maybe it was you, Lisa, said, hey, while we're cleaning it up, there were a couple of other things too.
Right, and it was inspection also, because part of the whole thing we needed to talk to Lawrence about, and we're supposed to do that at the third week meeting, is the fact that we do not have any money allocated as a separate line item for, which also sort of verges on your engineering, like you had it included as part of engineering, but it's not broken out for the inspection. And it's, even though there's not a lot of, or as much inspection as there would be on other things, because it's test wells, I think that was one of the questions. And then the other question was, we had, you had it allocated under, on your contract under a subcontract with the
Ken Schmidt.
Yes, with Ken Schmidt. for the hydrological.
So,
study,
so we would like to see those changes before, definitely before our meeting is next week, next Thursday on the 18th. So the ad hoc committee, because we're going to want to discuss that when we, aren't we?
Well, yes and no, because I think we need to talk to Lawrence as well as to how we might do that, and that maybe it doesn't need to be a part of Dee's contract. It really probably should be broken out as a separate line item. And then where we would pull that money from, which would probably be contingencies. So I don't know if D has to be completely done with it, but I do know that that was one of the other things that Lawrence was asking for, is that we, in order to keep moving forward, that's one of the items that he wanted to be completed, right?
Well, I thought the whole premise of breaking out, I mean, if inspection is part of engineering, why not have it in the contract and then you have it in the claim?
Where was this found?
Well, yeah, that's fine as long as it's in there, but it's, yeah. So if D, I mean, it could be done that way as well, but then we still have to figure out. I mean, my only issue with that is that if it's not separate, I just want to see it delineated separately rather than meshed together with the hydrogeologist, or so that we know exactly, if someone's coming up and they're doing the inspection, and and they're coming a set amount of times, and we have a budget for it. And
Okay, I just asked because, or brought that up because we will have to, as the engineering agreement develops, we'll need to readjust the budget categories in the to reflect, the more updated information that you get from D and what you folks decide on moving forward in the planning budget. The categories will change.
Yes. Okay, so I think we're going to have more discussion on this in the ad hoc, right?
And include Lawrence, I think.
yeah, I mean, we just need to, kind of check with Lawrence too. So, but I don't know if we should hash out what we can tonight, or, I mean, I don't know, because I'm not sure I'm not sure we know what we're asking for. Or are we going to let
Right.
Lawrence kind of determine that? Or are we telling D to go ahead and put it in the engineering amendment, and then, and then it becomes part of the engineering, but it's just like, broken out from the hydrogeology because he didn't have that. There was a second thing that now I'm not remembering that also wasn't broken out.
I think we had the MOU, Lisa.
Yeah, the MOU,
Yeah.
correct. So I was concerned about that. I don't know if that shouldn't be under the engineering. I mean, there's a portion of it that's engineering, certainly, but there's a good portion of it that's also legal, and that wouldn't go under engineering. So I think the MOU needs to be a separate item.
Now, as I recall, Lisa, this is Dave, that some of those items are taking place after you find clean water. And I think your premise was that you would just as soon get the whole agreement done in one clean sweep. And I guess what I'd say is that if you're planning on doing future work, and so I guess that was the choice: is do we make all the changes now and hopefully not have to change the agreement later on? You wanted to nail down those costs so that they're there.
My concerns are that the contingency will go away and then it'll be out of pocket, or we're going to be scrambling for trying to cover it with some other funding that takes forever to deal with.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to assure that we don't get stuck, that we haven't, we're not stuck with something we didn't account for in the beginning. We may still have to make a change because yes, if we don't find clean water, then certainly our memorandum of understanding is going to be completely like kind of out the window, but completely different. But yeah, I just wanted to, I just noticed that those items were not there. And originally, I think it's goofy because when we had our timeline and we had all of the different, we had broken everything into tasks, some of that stuff was there, and then everything kind of got turned upside down when the state didn't want to fund everything, and some of those things fell away. Right?
Yeah, but I think what you're trying to do is pretty much big, Lisa, in the fact that it's one thing for us to nail down in the current contract and have those line items set up from the contingency. I totally agree with that. And we need that, but I think that's kind of a little separate from D. I mean, I know that D is
that is separate from D, but some of this also has to do with D, and it's not
right. But I think we're trying to do too much at once. That's in the future, that you want D to put it in his contract, that we still haven't pinned it down. So to me, it's like we haven't established anything. So how do we do D's amendment before we establish the categories and what money goes in there and what has to do with the figures he's going to be needing?
And if the contingency is going to run out, won't we still end up holding the bag for some of the money anyway, regardless? I mean, the contingency is supposed to last for the project,
but I think
the contingency better not run out. But I'm just saying that there's, that if you don't account for certain things, that it's possible that other things come up that, I want to see us account for that so we have a realistic view of what's really in the contingency, because right now there's this big chunk that got added back into the contingency.
Right. And then we start thinking, oh, well, we can do this or we need this. And we start chipping away at money that we haven't accounted for. So I think Lisa's idea is correct, because we need to have the MSR, the MOU and all those things accounted for up front. And then we see what contingency we have left. Then we know what we're working with if we have other issues come up during the project.
Right, because we don't even have all of the MSR accounted for, because only part of that is payable through, the monies that Dave has in the TA account, and it was never put in either. There's another item that was not accounted for. It was accounted for in the pre-planning, and then we never finished it, and so it dropped off. So some of this stuff does have to go partially under D's engineering contract, and because he's paying, what the hydrogeologist is really doing or not. Are they really the inspection? Yeah, maybe there's some of the inspection, but then there's a separate part that's not that, and maybe that amount needs to go down a little because D had anticipated it all being under hydrogeology, or there's just a couple little weird things in there that needs to be hammered out. And then we need separate line items, because I don't think we have enough attorney monies to go through some of the other stuff that the attorney needs to look at. That's not under this B, it's under other parts of the planning monies, but it's stuff we need to talk to Lawrence about.
And self-help does have some additional engineering and some additional legal costs, as well as some older budgeted LAFCO fees, but the LAFCO fees are changing. So is your MS. Yeah.
Right. It's not enough, because we also have to redo the MSR now. When we talk to Bravish, it's it's looking like another $15,000, and you only have like 2,200 or something accounted, right?
Well, we paid for the original MSR, and he's asking for an update that's a lot pricier. Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's not more than 12.
Or whatever it is.
Well, I mean, at least, I mean, so
And
I
that's
don't
not
know.
we're out of order because that comes up on C and D, but so yes, we need D to finish his amendments. Finish his amendments to his contract. And then we also simultaneously need to be looking at the whole, and we may need to make multiple adjustments, I guess, based on what Lawrence says too.
One thing we had never included, really from the beginning, the cost of the MSR in the planning. I don't
Right.
think I don't think we ever put that in there.
No, because it was in the pre-planning and we never finished that.
So do we want to? I'm just trying to figure out what to put in this amendment, and probably would need to have Lawrence's input on the MSR for adding that in.
On the MSR and on the MOU, because you have to do input on both of those.
That's right.
And we need the lawyer to do input on both of those.
Yes.
And we need money for the actual cost of somebody physically doing the work for us, like Bravish. So.
Which would be a separate contract, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It could either be a separate contract or we could put it under D, but then it needs to be broken out if it's going to go under D. I mean, D could, it could go either way. I'm kind of the understanding that it should probably be a separate contract, and that we ask Lawrence for some of the contingency money and to have a separate item that we can pay for. And I don't know how much, if any, the TA funds, when you get the safer funds, if any of that could be covered with that, but.
Yeah. I mean, it can cover some costs, but as you pointed out, sometimes those funds take a long time getting out approved by the state.
Yes, a really long time.
Yeah, to our frustration. There is, yeah. So we have it listed as the regional project is listed as a safer project, I believe.
So I'm kind of at a loss of what we're.
So to move forward on B, D needs to think about what he can include for engineering that isn't in there, because he had lumped kind of all of the inspection under the hydrogeologist, and also the MSR portion that he needs to do isn't really addressed, I don't think, and the MOU portion that he needs to be a part of isn't really addressed. So I think it's all three of those. And then separately from that, we have to do a contract with Stanley Hoffman and Associates, unless it's going to go under D, where we are, where we're paying for that additional monies on the MSR. And then I don't know who does the help with the memorandum of understanding, but both of those take a lot of going through our legal also.
So how do we move forward tonight?
Well, my suggestion is that you definitely need the engineering costs squared away prior to start of construction or your test well, because you'll be billing it, and we need to have those categories there so that D can charge and we can get those. You can get the claims in.
Right. But we should probably talk to Lawrence. We should probably run all this by Lawrence before Dee tries to finish that,
Mhm.
right?
Yes,
So
So
we'll be talking to Lawrence on
Next-
next Thursday.
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on then. C, discussion vote, district sphere of influence and annexation, data collection and mapping.
So I have a little issue here because I was under the impression from what I've been told multiple times now that the French Wainwright properties were included when we drew the sphere of influence. And now I on an email that Dee sent, like, I don't know, a couple days ago, he said not.
they are. Can I share my screen on, maybe I'm gonna try this.
You just need to ask Tiffany to turn screen sharing
I-
on.
Tiffany, can you,
Yeah, I'm doing that right now for you.
okay. Couple of maps I wanted to put up. Okay, ready? Here we go.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, has that come up? The, my screen, can everybody see it?
Not yet.
No.
I was looking for, the LDS church and the Lutheran church, and Dave prepared this years ago when we were first talking about annexations. So here's the LDS church and the Lutheran church.
We can't see it, Dee.
Oh, you can't? Oh, crummy. All right. Well, I'll send the maps out then. Heck, I could probably PDF them to you right now. But my point was, let me see if I can send this.
Well, when you hit share, did it put a green border around it?
It did not. Maybe I should try it again.
Yeah. Just double click on it. Hit
Here we
double
go.
click on it first and then hit share. Or,
There we
you know,
There you go.
Good.
There you go, Dee.
Okay, so this is kind of an early map when we were talking about this. And you notice on the left there, the Lutheran church and LDS church are clear down there in Lake of the Woods. And the mobile home park, Connors mobile home park is in that as well. So if we add the, I think it's the LDS church, was not included on the mapping that we did. The Lutheran was, the LDS church was not. And then there was some property, Fraser Park PUD property that was outside of the district. We did not put that in the annexation. Bear Court, most of it went in, but not all. And so to give you an idea kind of how that ended up, I hope you can see that second map.
yes.
We can, yeah.
This is kind of where we ended up. And these are the lands that are annexed to right now on our annexation map. And you can see the Connor Mobile Home Park is still in. The LDS church is not. The Lutheran church is in. And then these properties, part of Bear Court, and then these guys are in. These guys, except for 3, are in. And these 2 right here are Wainwright.
Yep.
And then we move over to the east side. And this was the 30-acre piece that we added to the east end. So that's pretty much what we're looking at. And to just give you the official version, there it is. And this is what our annexation map ended up being in, I think, 2017. And we got all these properties. This is the Lutheran church, left out the LDS, put in the Connors in. And, I don't know what we do about that. Are we going to have to, revise our?
No, we just leave him in, and if he chooses not to annex, then he choose, because we're not going to provide to him what he's asking for. So, I mean, but he could still be in the sphere of influence. It wouldn't actually.
But we're gonna have to change this map. We're gonna have to change the map for the annexation map.
Correct.
I mean, he could be in the sphere of influence, but that annexation map, we already know he's not gonna be in, so
Right,
that's
but
gonna have to change.
But what happened previously is the sphere of influence and the annexation were the same map, but now they need to be two different
Right.
items. So this would still be the sphere of influence map, but the annexation, there would be potentially some properties that were not included.
Right.
Right, because you gotta add in the LDS and then where's the SIA property?
Oh, that's over on the second map. Right over here. The SIA property that we're going to drill on
Yes.
is right in here.
So it's already in the map.
Yeah, been in there for quite a while. What we annexed in addition to the district's boundary, which is kind of this little ear. I'm sorry, it's not. This is the original district. Got that ear, then down, following that line all the way down, SIA property. What we did on the annexation is we added this 39 acres right in here, which was the, I think it's that's
Part of the Sigmund Lecter property, the part that he sold off.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I have.
The annexation looks like on the east end right now. So we do have SIA, and I mean, no problem there. It's always been in, so that's good. The other thing is that Wainwright, these properties, Wainwright French, are not in the district now, but they are included in the annexation.
Okay.
They are in there. So I think at some point in time down the road, and it doesn't have to be right now, but at some point, we're going to want to change this map and add the LDS over here. We're going to want to, I guess, take Connor out. And then I think there's another property that I'm not familiar with. Linker, is it, or something like that? Or am I just misunderstanding? Is there we got the LDS, and
It is the Lecter it's the property that he was selling some parcels, so he wanted to include the parcels he was selling in the annexation, but he didn't want to include his main home in the annexation. But I still, there's still like two separate maps now and I think the SOI needs to be broader than the annexation map.
Right. This can be a good basis, though. Basically we can take this map and mark it up pretty easy and add in those properties for the SOI, I think, quite easily.
So, I mean, you'd still leave Connor in the SOI.
Correct.
Just so in case we have to annex later, and add the LDS on the, so the map's just going to be a little bit bigger than what we already have.
Yes.
Right, because if we're having to do a municipal services review of everything, we're also looking at the greatest potential we would ever have as opposed to, but it doesn't mean that that's what we're going to do.
For the SOI, couldn't we just trace out the national forest land and just run it up that way up to Lake of the Woods to where we encompass all the
Everything.
private?
Yeah, that's what I would do.
The national forest.
So
I think that makes more sense, but because while we're paying this money to get this stuff done, why not do the potential that the district would have? And then if none of those, some of those landowners never annex, they never annex, or if we can't serve them, we can't serve them.
So on this map, which is showing the district property outside of
That's Cold Springs.
Yes, yes. We'd bring our SOI probably up around Bear Court and then up in here and then back down and maybe pick up maybe all of this. I don't know whether this is Forest Service or not. I think right outside the fire station, it turns to Forest Service, but again, Johnny, is that correct?
I think it's to the north of the fire station and to the west of the fire station on the north side of Mount Pinos is Forest Service. So we would have to look at a Forest Service map
Mhm.
and plot that around the Forest Service.
Yes, okay. And then through here and then up, and then we would take in maybe these parcels on the east side, which would look something like these.
I agree. Yeah.
And then even take in, well, I'd like to get the test wells done before we draw this map. But anyway, here's.
I would entertain a motion that we can continue the meeting.
I'd like to move that we continue the meeting until business is finished.
I'll second it.
Okay, Director Garcia seconded. Roll call, directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried 500. It's 9 o'clock.
So we could add a few, if we think it's a good idea, to carry the sphere of influence clear around here. Skip the Forest Service, pick up the private property, pick up this piece right here, which is ours, and then bring it back down into some of these private properties that are in this area. And then around Lake of the Woods, maybe taking in a little bit bigger boundary than what's there. And then keeping Connor in and keeping the rest of these guys in. And then coming back to the original district map.
And do you think maybe we could do the work on the map, but wait to file the SOI until after we do our test wells?
Yeah, we could.
I think that would be ideal.
You know what I could do, Johnny, because I need to come up anyway, and we need to look at well 5 replacement. Is maybe come up to the office and then you and I just kind of go draw some lines around this document and then we can present it to the board at the next meeting.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. All right, moving on to D, discussion vote on MSR quote draft MSR data collection scope of work in LAFCO. Okay, did you want to take this, Lisa? And we did have a meeting with Ravish. So we did have some discussions with him. We had a ad hoc committee and we discussed that we only needed one MSR and that we were looking for a new quote to update that MSR. And we went through all the elements of what needed to be updated, which also goes back to the sphere of influence, including some of that information in the MSR. Did you want to add anything, Director Schoenberg?
Well, I was just going to say, so kind of what happened is in the pre-planning, we had actually paid for the MSR, but it was only in draft form, and we never finished it and we never filed it. So then we ran out of time on our timeline expired on the pre-planning. And so when we carried over to planning, we didn't have, which is what we were talking about before, we didn't really have an allocation for completing that MSR. And when we talked to Bravish, his issues are that because it's been 5 years, since it was done last time, there are changes. And so, there's cost to him going back through. So, he's not having to completely redo everything, but there's quite a few items that need to be revised and checked. So there's, all kinds of, all of our financials are different. The whole issues with the grant that we're getting for well 5 replacement. There's just like a lot of little changes. And then in the original MSR, which he sent me, and I didn't get a chance to go through it all that carefully, but I don't believe that we had contingencies really worked out well in there, and those contingencies need to be really spelled out very specifically, so that if for some reason we have the capacity to fulfill the water needs of Lake of the Woods and some of these other properties, but we don't get a grant to be able to run that pipeline from or to have the extra resources that we would need in order to pump the water to all of those landowners in Lake of the Woods, that we wouldn't be, even if we filed the annexation, we wouldn't be held to fulfilling, if it's clearly spelled out in the MSR, we would not be beholden to supply water. So we were so concerned about not filing the annexation because we thought that would stick us with having to supply the water, but it really doesn't. And then the other thing that happens is if it takes another 5 years, which is very well might, that we have to do another MSR all over again because it's only good for 5 years.
So we're just spelling out the contingencies in the MSR.
Yeah, spelling out contingencies, making sure that we really have capacity, redoing, we changed from a disadvantaged to a severely disadvantaged. I don't know if we changed back, but I think currently we're still classified, Dave, is that correct, as a severely disadvantaged?
Yes.
And some of those changes, because all that stuff's changed in the last 5 years. So there's been when you start, like when we went over it in the meeting with Bravish, you start realizing it's a pretty big checklist. It's bigger than, it's bigger than a couple $1,000s. So he's talking, a fair amount of money, probably half of what the original MSR cost us to.
Which is about 12 grand.
Right, which is about 12 grand to update everything.
So, and I think that when we talk to Lawrence, I think we should start it, if we're going to try and put the MSR on the contract, that's the figure we should just give him. Because I doubt that Bravish is going to come in any less than 12 grand.
I have a question.
Yes.
When we didn't do anything between pre-planning and planning for, I don't know, a couple of years. Then they came in and the state come in and say, we wanted a $2 million contractor grant, and didn't they only give us like 15? They cut it, didn't they?
Yes. Well, they cut it, but they never had the MSR in there because it was done under the pre-planning, so the MSR was never put into the planning contract in the beginning. Now, the only reason we have extra contingency is because we were only doing 2 test wells. And so the third test well, all those monies we were able to shift into contingency, which that's why we're proposing setting up and asking Lawrence to say, okay, we need money for the MOU, we need money for the MSR,
Right,
because they were never accounted for in the beginning.
The MOU was accounted for, but it dropped off somewhere in the weird thing that happened. Remember when we were asking for Lawrence to redo all the tasks and it never really happened? So it dropped off when he was trying to save money, the state was trying to save money, it sort of dropped off. It was under one of the tasks and then it went away. I think it was like task 1, but we wanted to move it to the end because we couldn't really do an MOU without knowing if the test wells were going to work or not. And so that's where that kind of disappeared. But the MSR was never carried over because it was supposed to be done in the pre-planning.
We'll just go back to Lawrence and tell him we want our full grant.
But you do have a lot of the MOU done. And there's a huge document that's in there.
Right, but it's still gonna require more work.
Yeah, there's a huge
flesh it
document.
out.
But again, it doesn't contain any of the contingency information or any of that. It spells out all of the things we're doing with the assets of Lake of the Woods, but there's a lot of stuff that isn't spelled out. And I think that the other MOUs are really flimsy, and I don't think any of them were finished, which is with all the other property owners. It was just like we
Yeah,
started
we've
Never
never done theirs. We've never fleshed out any of the ones that the other companies or other properties that were gonna come in besides Lake of the
The places that were on that map that Dee had earlier, that map was what I used to list people who were interested. So, and the idea is that you'd take the people, you would annex the people who were interested to avoid conflict or litigation. So take willing people, but keep the unwilling people out if they don't want to be in.
Right.
And though they do have those one-page MOUs. So.
Yeah, but I don't think those have ever been really finalized, Dave. I think it was more of kind of, it wasn't made up as an agreement though. I don't think.
it's an agreement that's signed, but it's just really flimsy. It just doesn't really say much.
Yeah. So, okay. So, are we finished with this discussion?
I think so for the moment.
Okay, go on to E, discussion vote, update claims and payout. I think that's you, Dave.
Yeah, Tiffany has been sending me information for claim 7 that I should have a draft in the ad hoc committee's hands this next week. And there's just some, I know Kelly tried to reach me by phone, but she mistakenly called Carlos. So I just emailed her. I had emailed her some corrections on an invoice, or there were 3 invoices that I had comments on. So I think she was trying to reach out to me. So I'm available on my cell phone, Dee. Yeah, you could just let her know. I did email that I am available in what my cell phone is.
Okay. So another question, Dave. So where do we stand as far as the reimbursement, getting the funds that Fraser Park has put out? Where do we stand as far as?
We talked to the state.
Technical assistance, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the technical assistance funding. We talked to the state about the work plan approval. They said they were going to get on it, and that approval could their signature, because we have signed it and sent it up there for their signature. And so once their signature is on it, then we can go forward. But they said, I gave Gunay an estimate of a week to 2 weeks from Monday.
Okay, and then at that point, then you can make the checks out for Young and Wooldridge and I don't know if there was any left. There was some left for D Jasper, that we can go over that, and then they have to reimburse us.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so it's fine. It's in the works. It's happening. It's coming. And so we'll just have to review everything because we have those spreadsheets and just make sure we got all that.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. 12, discussion vote update on Fraser Park Public Utility District Meter Replacement Project and Emergency Replacement Well and Water Supply Project. Boy, that's a long name. So, update on grant application state. What do you have, Oscar?
I don't have much to update other than the email that came from Lawrence asking for a timeline for submitting the permit amendment for the replacement bill. And I think he directed that at Jesse Dollywall to get back to Johnny in regards to that.
Yeah, and then we got a response from I think it's Ryan Eisenhower, but I could be wrong. It's Ryan something, but they sent us the procedure, which Dee I'm sure is very aware of, where you have to, do the water supply and the fact that there's 50 feet around. So it's just a regular permit amendment. But the last I heard from Lawrence was he actually said that his supervisors now, he had submitted the application to them, and he stated that we should have funding by June for the projects, and also that we ought to maybe.
Oh, it's 9/14. Just the week we finished the last Lake of the Woods consolidation. Sorry.
Okay, and he also stated that we might want to start looking at interim financing in case the state takes too long to start funding the project, that we would have funding in place before we get reimbursed. And that's all part of the email chain that we've all been included in.
Yeah. And there is some interim financing that is pretty affordable through RCAC, but they charge you points and interest.
And we had actually talked about this because some of the monies that might need to go out, we had talked about taking out of the capital reserve. That was why that chunk was put away in the first place, and then reimbursing it if we got money back. So I'm not positive. When we were talking about this, we were talking about expending half of that out of our own pocket before we knew that we might be helped by the state more completely. So I'm not sure I'm for doing like full interim funding, but
The only reason that I think that at least some interim funding would be prudent, and we could talk to Lawrence about it on Thursday when we have our next ad hoc meeting, but we don't want to get into a situation where the funding's going to come after the good weather for drilling, and then we wind up again trying to go through another winter without having well 5 drilled. So we might want to try to get interim funding for the well and not necessarily the meter project. The cost of it. I know it's one project now, so it's going to be one amount, but we might be able to break it up to where we fund the drillers and not necessarily the meter people until the state starts paying.
I mean, I understand that. So Lawrence is talking about the interim funding for the is when the payment you submit, and it takes the state 2 or 3 months to pay you, and you still have other payments that they have to pay the contractor. That's what you were talking about for interim financing, right?
Yeah, and I'd never been through this, so that is just what he stated. That's probably the way it would work, which is why I'm suggesting that we wait and talk, Thursday to Lawrence and find out exactly what he was talking about. But that makes more sense. Not funding the whole project, but funds to pay and then get reimbursed each time they do a claim payout.
Right. Yeah.
right,
That's
and that's what
Thanks.
I'm suggesting.
I'm just excited that it's finally looking like we're going to get funded for both projects. It's pretty awesome that it looks like they're going to fund us for it.
Well, we definitely need it. So
Well, and I'm suggesting that we may I don't know. I have some misgivings about interim funding if it requires us to raise our rates.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he was talking about really, but we could probably get a loan from somebody like Dave said, RCAC or something. But again, we can clarify all that on Thursday with Lawrence. But hey, I don't think when you're getting funding from outside entities, you necessarily have to raise your rates, do you, Lisa? Especially since it won't be for 3.6 million, it'll be for whatever funds are necessary for the period that it takes for the state to pay.
Right. And typically I know RCAC, I've worked with them in the past. They had like a line of credit so that whatever is out there, they're charging interest on. But if you're still retaining a chunk of that money in that line of credit, if it's not been lent out, that isn't being charged interest. It's just the stuff that's being used.
Kind of like a home equity loan, like a HELOC. The money's there, but you're not actually borrowing it until you use it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. D. So on this email, just want you to kind of update us on the email as far as what Eisenhower was asking, because there's like under this, it shows 4 different things. I know we have the design plans and specifications. You've already submitted that, correct? You got to unmute yourself, D.
Well, 5, we still have to finish up the plans and specs. And I think you all got a reply from Denise England that they have Irwin Pass funded. We had requested another 20,000 to finish up the design.
And she was asking for if you needed an extension.
Right, yeah, and which means that apparently they have the money and they're going to make it available. So that's good.
Right. But now Lawrence has the initial plans and specs that he's already submitted with this grant application.
Meter replacement, but we have a PER for well number 5, but design not done for well 5 replacement.
But wasn't he asking for that to be done in order to go forward with this project?
Oh, no, he wasn't asking to go forward with it, but that's what needs to be done soon. The permit amendment to drill a new well.
Well,
Right.
the permit, Ryan is showing 4 different things here, Johnny, that we have to say. It says, it talks about the application for the permit, the 50-foot radius around the site to,
Yeah,
for
and
protection. And then it says
says
design plans and specs, and then it says CEQA, which we already received, he said.
yeah, design plans and specs are the only thing that requires a lot, because the other 2 things are pretty easily done. It's not complicated.
Right, but we also have to make some decisions. I mean, doesn't D have to come up and verify about where we're going to drill and stuff? I mean, we need to get that done.
Yeah, he said he was coming up before the next meeting.
Okay.
To do that.
I mean, I just want to make sure that we're on top of it because I don't want anything to hold us up from them approving us with the funds, because they say they're going to give it to us, and it's really important that we stay on top of it so that
Yeah, I agree.
That there's nothing falls through the cracks.
Yep.
Okay. there isn't any claims or payouts at this point. So we can go on to 14. Discuss vote on emergency repairs, Wolf Booster and tank site. Update on the project.
Yeah, so far, unless Dee has something else, I reached out to Wayne, the superintendent for Unified Construction, and he stated he'd get back to me. He knows that it's going to start up back up really soon, but he was going to give me a date, and he was not able to do so. And as of yet.
So has he not been able to procure the materials that he needed?
All I know is exactly what he just told me. Just that. Maybe. I mean, see, if it comes in, but they've already diverted their crew for a week or two, but they got the supplies, they're not going to, the second they get them, derail their crew again. But that's not what he told me. I just know that's how it works in construction. So I'm assuming that in the next week or two, it's going to happen. Now, since we've had snow and stuff, it's not necessarily bad that he didn't start this week, because he obviously couldn't have done it this week.
Okay.
I'll check with Curtis on to see if he's received any additional information.
Right, because I was under the understanding that there was materials that he hadn't received.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it was
And that's why we were at an impasse.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Then on to D, discussion vote on progress payment 3 and other claims and payout. Okay. We received a payout claim, which we've already approved as far as paying our bills, but we still need to vote on this and approve. We've got this is attached as a progress payment number 3 from Unified Field Service Corporation for the above referenced project. The approved amount to be paid is $36,120.90 or $38,022 minus the 5% retention. The amount billed for this period includes material procurement for the boosters pump station, piping, installation of underground PVC piping, and installation of PVC pipelines down the hillside. So if you look at the progress, it says work completed. It shows that booster plant piping and I can't say that word.
Appurtenances.
Appurtenances, thank you. Was $18,292. Underground PVC piping and adjustments was $3,800, which is like 30% done. Then we had replace tank gravity lines with 6-inch C900 DR PVCs. That was $1,215, which is we've done like 90% on that, I guess. No, we've only done 10% of that. And then connect existing systems with Wolf tank inlet piping. That was $1,215. And then PVC and connect existing system and booster pump station, $12,225. And that one is complete. And an additional cost to replace all underground piping at the site was there was a change order in the amount of $5,025. So anyways, so the progress payment is for $36,120.90. Does anybody have any questions for Dee or for Johnny before we entertain a motion? Okay, I'd entertain a motion that we approve the number 3 progress payment for Unified Field Services Corp.
Do you want to motion the change order separately?
We can do that. So, somebody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll move that we approve payment number 3 to Unified Field Corp. The amount of $36,128.90.
$20.90.
Okay.
Do I hear a second?
I accept the friendly amendment.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Director Schoenberg is seconded. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried 500. Okay, I would, so there's a contract change order. It's a additional cost to implement underground steel piping was $18,000. Now, question, we're doing steel piping, Dee? What, can you kind of explain that a little bit? Because aren't we normally just putting in PVC? Is there a reason why we're doing steel piping?
Yeah, I could probably add something to that if Dee don't mind.
Sure. I'm just curious. I want to learn.
Some of the piping up at the booster, we had to bypass. Some of the piping is going to be steel, and it's going to be getting rid of a valve and doing a jumper line. So if we had to tie the two sides, the gravity feed and the feeds going up to McGee, that stuff is going to be steel. Everything going down the hill is going to be PVC. But then down at the bottom where they do the tie-in from the existing lines to the PVC, there's also going to be some coated jumper lines that go in there. Because we're going from PVC to steel, and some of that's going to be steel tie-ins.
Okay.
I agree with Johnny's assessment.
Okay. So the addition was $18,000, but which means we changed out some of the PVC, so it gave us a credit of $12,225.
Yeah, instead of running 3 lines down the hill like we thought we were going to have to do, we discovered we were only going to have to do 2 lines. So the cost savings in that helped offset the change order that I approved up on top of the hill.
So the difference is $5,025.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion that we approve the change order for the Wolf Tank Improvement Project in the amount of $5,025. If somebody wants to make that motion.
I'll make that motion. I'd like to move that we approve the change order for the adjustments in the type of lines and number of lines going from Wolf Tank in the amount of $5,025.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Schoenberg, second it. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson.
Aye.
Director Kelling.
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried, 500. Okay, do we want to just continue on?
Yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on to number 16.
Although we're probably done with anything that would require Dee or Dave or Oscar.
Yep.
And
Yes.
I'd like to move that item, whatever it is, that we carry over the minutes, the review and approval of minutes for
That'd be number
211
18.
and 225 to the next meeting.
That would be great.
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Garcia, second that. Roll call of directors, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Nyman's aye, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, 500. We've tabled number 18, and that will be on the next regular meeting in 2 weeks. Okay, on to new business. Discussion and vote on quote for repairs for the backhoe.
At first, I want to say thank you, Dee, Oscar, Dave, for all your help. And we'll be talking to you probably next Thursday. You guys have a good night.
Sounds good, Johnny. I'll call you and we'll schedule something Monday, Tuesday.
Absolutely. Yeah, Dee, either day works for me.
Okay, sounds
All right.
good.
We
Thank you.
already
Good
lost
night, Dee.
Oscar and Dave. They already left.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Dee.
Good
Okay.
night.
Thank you, Dee.
Now with the
Thank
backhoe,
you.
before I start talking about the repairs to the backhoe, I want to give a little background. Some of you board members have been on board long enough to know, but our backhoe was bought as a used backhoe greater than 13 years ago. It's been a constant money pit. It cost a bunch of money. It's been going on. I still want to keep it. It's good for heavy work, but since it's costing so much money, now that the heater has failed, which we can't have operators without a heater, the heater has failed and they want over $12,000. It's like $12,500 to repair that. So I think it's time to get something else like a mini excavator, which I started pricing them out to find out what it's going to cost. It's roughly going to be about $80,000. The Mini X will have a cab. It'll have a heater. It's going to be great work for most of our backhoe work. It's going to replace the backhoe in the majority of the instances. It'll be brand new, so we don't have to repair it all the time. And it'll also be great for the mainline replacement projects that we're going for potholing. Instead of renting them for $2,000 or $3,000 a week, we'll have our own. I would like to suggest that you direct me. I've already done pricing and stuff with Caterpillar and Coastline equipment, which is John Deere or Hitachi. I would like to recommend that we go ahead and pursue buying a Mini X for, like I said, roughly around $80,000 and possibly paying half down and financing the other half. So we have a $500 or $600 payment each month, which we could absorb. And then if we get times where we have more money and we feel like we could do it, we could pay down larger chunks towards the principal on that Mini X.
Or it could come out of our short-lived asset.
Absolutely. Yeah, we could just buy it outright too if you wanted to, if we weren't short on funds.
Well.
I mean, it costs money to do this stuff. And I know when I first started almost 13 years ago, we had to replace the brain and the display and the wiring harness and it's just nonstop stuff. Now the hydraulics are failing and the hydraulic system is huge amounts of money, and we could still keep it operable for the heavy work for a long period of time with less maintenance if we don't use that as the day-to-day, everyday digging apparatus for our system. And I don't want to put almost $13,000 into a heater because they have to tear half the machine apart only to have something else fail, like the hydraulics area. I think we're at the point where we're going to be throwing good money after bad. It's like we're going to keep on dumping money into this thing and it's going to keep on failing.
And just historically, we've been putting money into this since right after we bought it. It was it was a nice idea that we would save a bunch of money buying a used backhoe, but it hasn't saved us money at all.
No, it has not. And another aspect of the Mini X, the backhoe, we can't even change bucket sizes. With the Mini X, we could get 3 buckets, one for potholing. We could get one for when we're working on leaks, and they just change with hydraulics. You just push a button and you just grab the next bucket. one for when we're locating the pipes that have leaks, and then one for bailing mud, which is going to greatly shorten the time of some leaks, which reduces the cost of overtime. And we can get jobs done much more efficiently and safely, because I've been saying for years that backhoe is really dangerous. I've almost rolled it several times. Billy almost rolled it. Logan, it's got a high center of gravity, and a Mini X is on tracks, and it's designed for uneven surfaces and the mountain roads that we have to deal with, contend with on a daily basis up here.
Well, yeah, I'm not for, I mean, if this is just for a heater, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and they said
$12,000 into
well,
that.
yeah, and they say what happens is they have to take the whole cab, they have to pull the cab off, they have to tear half the machine apart, which only part of it has to be replaced now for the heater and the air. But they said that if you're doing all that work, the majority of the cost is disassembling it. So if you only replace half of it, another year down the road, you're going to have to replace the other half, which means you're going to spend more money by tearing it all apart again to even get to the system itself. So that's what Coastline recommended to me, to just replace the whole thing or just keep it as a backup backhoe.
Yeah. Well,
and regularly we do rent the Mini X fairly regularly for certain operations.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot more now, because we're going to seriously, once the project for the well and the smart meter gets into play, we're going to start potholing a lot, and a lot of the potholing for even the Lake of the Woods consolidation can be done much more efficiently with a Mini X than it can a backhoe.
Well, Johnny, about how often do you use the backhoe?
Oh,
like
constantly.
The thing that replaced it constantly?
Yeah, it's not only every leak that we have, but when we have to pull meter boxes to replace meters, when we, there's a multitude of things that we do with the backhoe, and it's run quite a bit. We've lessened the use of it when we got the free loader with the Gannon box for fixing roads. That helped us a lot. Otherwise, the backhoe would have died already.
Okay.
And now we bought the trailer and the ability to tow it. So now the Mini X would stay on the trailer. And then when we had to go to a leak or we had to do something down in the hole or on Elm Trail or wherever we had to go, we would just hook up to the trailer, tow it, and then we would have that as well as the skid steer and the dump truck in order to accomplish everything a lot more efficiently with fewer drivers. We never had that ability before. We always wind up with trying to juggle equipment back and forth and trying to handle it with too few operators.
Okay. Well, I think it's a good idea that, I don't know what the other directors think, but I think we should direct Johnny to at least get some quotes and then bring them back to us at the next regular meeting, and we can discuss approving that.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
But he's now saying that the
What-
backhoe's not working. What if we need it in the next month?
No, the backhoe is working. It's right now, it needs heater and air conditioner. So if we have to use it, we will. It's a constant money pit. If you guys refer back to invoices we paid in the last year, we've probably dumped multiple thousands of dollars into that backhoe because the pins that hold everything together are failing. The grease points are failing. Everything's failing on that thing. So we still have equipment to keep us going. In the meantime, we even have another much older backhoe that we can use if we have to, but it's just not efficient and it's not the way to go. When maintenance costs start costing you more than it would cost to just buy a new piece of equipment, that's the time to go with a new piece of equipment.
And the Mini X allows us to do some things more safely and more efficiently because it's smaller, easier to operate. We've been renting them anyway.
My huge thing is safety, because all the way back when Greg was alive in 2012, I've been crying about the unsafe operation of that backhoe on steep hillsides in the middle of the night, and it's just not designed for that kind of work.
Right.
I like the idea that you'll be able to pull up on a job with the dump truck, the trailer, your two main tools ready to go, and that's just one driver. So you're not putting the extra miles on the smaller equipment until you get to the actual job. So
Absolutely.
you're not running them around town. You're eliminating some of the wear and tear. And yeah. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to see what you come up with.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm not against the mini. All I was saying is if Johnny doesn't give us quotes for another month, which would be the beginning of April.
I actually already have quotes. I have quotes, but I did not make it an agenda item because I just got the quotes.
If you want to put it on the next regular in 2 weeks meeting, you can do so.
That'd be good. Yeah, because I do have the quotes. I did all the legwork. I just didn't have time to put it on Monday because I didn't have the quotes yet.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right.
All right. Number 17, discussion vote on changing or continuing the modified services procedures adopted on March 19th, 2020. I don't think anything has changed yet.
No, but I would like to say that when Kern County changes to red tier, we should automatically open the front office to one customer at a time, which is kind of what we decided before.
And I also, I believe the potentially water workers will be the next opening for COVID vaccines. So
I think
if we're able,
the third wave, the last time I checked was that we're in the third wave, which may be coming up, but
I think it's coming up because when they reopen, I believe it's in the one that's coming up where they open the government. It's like government workers, and I think water is in there.
Yeah,
So anyway,
I'm ready.
Yeah, hopefully they open up to water, wastewater, and that would also allow us to, whoever's willing, hopefully everybody to get vaccinated. It'll help us a lot to be able to open up as well.
Yeah, Dave's a county worker and he's eligible now.
And just to point out, I checked into this. Certainly we want everybody to get vaccinated, but I also want to point out that legally we cannot require everybody to get vaccinated, but I'm certainly supporting that. I'll go down and be the first one out of the water company if they open it up for us. Just because I don't want to bring it home to my wife and kids and my brother.
Exactly.
So I'll go first, and hopefully everybody else will follow behind me. But we can't require them to do so.
Right, but I'm just saying that if we do get that as well, it'll help us even more. But I'm definitely all for reopening the office at the point where we change tiers, which should be really soon.
Awesome.
Right, and we've already voted on this, so we don't really have to vote at this point. So, okay, number 19, vote on future agenda items.
I think we got that covered.
Okay, if nobody has anything else, thank you everybody for coming tonight. I would entertain a motion that we adjourn.
I will make a motion that we adjourn.
Do I hear a second? Nobody wants to go home? Okay, we can sit here all night.
Well, I think Jerry's trying to respond and he's not muted, but it's not picking up.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Director Schoenberg.
Usually does
I second it. Roll call.
It's a historic motion.
Director Garcia.
Aye.
Okay. Director Gibson.
Aye.
Director Kelling.
Aye.
And Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried 500. We are adjourned at 9:47 PM. And
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
I will not be